something out of nothing and something better out of something. But what I need you guys to take out of this conversation, you guys are all right. But the thing again is that we were made to think that creativity was something that some people have and others didn't have. But what we're realizing now is that so long as you can make something, you can think, you can imagine, you can create. So creativity belongs to all of us. In fact, the question is not whether you can create. The ultimate question is, what are you creating? And that is what this is. You should put some offering. No, please just help my friend out there. All right, so but the point is, what are you creating? And today we're going to be hearing people who are creating from digital to animation to production to Taiwo is going to be here. He's on his way. He did this documentary about Road to Blow. Whoever thought Road to Blow was going to be a documentary, Blow is now going to make it to the dictionary very soon. You know, blow is there, but you know, the Nigerian blow, you just see a new meaning. Blow in Nigeria is now a concept for people that blow. Right, so I need you to settle first of all. What I need you to pick up here is that context of creativity is important. Please, can you stop the music? I'm very musical. When I'm hearing music, I feel like dancing, and you don't want to see me dance, so let's just keep that on hold for a bit. Right, so creativity belongs to all of us, and I need you to ask yourself, what can you learn and create? So, Living Festival of Ideas, we want to challenge you that the next edition of the Festival of Ideas, you should be here speaking, telling us what you are now creating. If not, this is just another exercise in futility. It's something that should inspire. Some of us have all these ideas in our heads that we've not done anything with. So we want to invite you that as you learn and be inspired by the people that will share their stories here, you will also learn. The second thing about from creativity is community. And Salim will speak to that because community is now the new capital. So many of us are looking for funds, you're looking to raise money. But you know, if you understand community and collaboration, you might not need money. So we need to start looking how we can collaborate to create and amplify the value that we make without necessarily having to now get all the capital we need. So as you sit down here and you understand creativity, the next thing is community. And the third thing that I want us to talk about is culture. Many of us are coming from diverse cultures and we have experiences, but I need you to understand that culture is really a resources. I was in Calabar yesterday. I got in this morning. I went for a wedding. Efik culture. Please give it to the Efik people. Please, if you're Efik here, I respect you a whole new level, but I'm not changing my tribe. Right? But I would give it to you that culture, it's really, really huge. It was so colorful and beautiful. I saw the wedding, the dancing. So they had this wedding. In fact, it was a traditional wedding, and I officiated the traditional wedding. I don't know, it was weird. Well, we did a vow exchange. But the interesting part is, the white man's wedding, the white wedding is a tradition of theirs. So we must recognize that rather than do 3 weddings, do the one that fits you, right? But Efik was colorful. And I think that if you're a storyteller, they were telling me about how they got inspiration from colors, that the roots of the mangrove was how they actually created the color and outfit that they wear, right? And I think there's a story there. So if you're a storyteller, if you're an artist, how can you borrow from the diverse cultures that we have? And how can we look deep into the culture and study them and see the resources, what they present to us, and how we can use that as a creative backdrop for inventing and innovating and scaling? The third thing and the fourth thing I'll talk about is we've been playing around the idea of consciousness, and consciousness is quite an interesting word, but it means you having a kind of presence, knowing who you are, where you are, and everything that is happening around you. Consciousness is a word that you get to hear from time to time, but the idea is that we are not what we create. We are the consciousness behind our creation. So the point again is that you cannot then derive your identity from what you create, in as much as what you create is amazing. I mean, if they don't buy your book, if they don't buy your art, you are no less an artist because they don't buy. It's their problem that they can't see it. It's not your problem that you created it. So you don't create to be accepted. You actually create from a place of self-acceptance. And don't necessarily put yourself under the pressure that what will they receive it, how will they respond to it, right? So consciousness is really what it is. It's about caring about yourself, not what you just create. Who are you? How is your state of mind? Mental health is a big deal. So I think next month we're having this thing called Rendezvous, where we're having, it's also for about 40, 50 people, and we're doing like a mental health session, right? It's really about clarity, knowing your bandwidth, knowing where you're taking on too much, knowing the boundaries, and how you can define those boundaries. So what you're creating is amazing, but that the state of mind that creates is also okay. So we care about you, not just what you create. So again, let me recap as we move into the day. What are you creating? Because you're all creators. The question is, think about what you're creating. The second thing is community is the new capital. look for ways to collaborate with people and scale up what you're doing significantly. The third thing is, third thing is culture. We have such a diverse culture that we can draw from. And then the fourth thing is consciousness, that your state of mind and awareness is more important than anything else. And bring yourself into the moment and care about yourself as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me saying welcome to Festival of Ideas. And I hope that by the end of the next 2 hours, you will have significantly a lot to take away to improve our lives and our society. Thank you, Kosi.
Thank you, Freddie. That was amazing. Okay, we are about to kick things off. And our first speaker is a wonderful personality. He's the co-founder and art director of Magic Carpet Studio. He played an instrumental role in the training of 100 animators, and he is one of the most respected artists and emerging art directors to look out for. Please give a round of applause for Chekupe Okonkwo.
Okay, nice to see everyone. I'm Chekupe Okonkwo, as she has introduced me, co-founder, art director, Magic Carpet. And let me not waste so much time because I talk a lot. So let me take the time and tell you my story, and maybe some way, somehow, you would find something in it. I consider myself as just the ordinary guy, right? But let me share my story. I've always been an artist from inception. I've always loved artwork. I've always loved things that are connected to the soul, things that have spirits. And for me, art is actually a relationship. Art runs deep than what's that just making artworks and all that stuff, right? So I started out like every child. I said everybody have the ability to draw one way or the other, but they left it somewhere, right? So I started out, I'm just that one kid that didn't know when to stop, and I kept on drawing and everything, right? So I think I started out in school and always drawing, never really paying attention in class, always creating artwork, drawing at the back of my notes, my locker, everywhere was just draw. So I consider myself as a misfit some way, somehow, because I just didn't fit in. And I think for my artwork spoke volumes for me. And when everybody's seeing my work, like, okay, I can see you now, right? So I kept on drawing. And I think one story that really, inspired my story was the story of my sister. My sister, she used to be, the one that they used to call she's not so smart in class, and they would say, call her Olodo and all that stuff. And for me, it broke my heart anytime she come back home and say, okay, why is there anything wrong with me? And she spoke to my dad one time and said, why are they calling me Olodo? What's the problem? And, my dad, I think, he knelt down and prayed with her. And after that prayer, the following day, I think he went to a bookstore and he took her, with him, and he bought a lot of books, right? Lantern books back then, all the books, just bought books, and, they came home that weekend, and, she just dropped like a bag full of books. And for me, that was the introduction to literature. And for me, I didn't read much, but I would want, her to read it and give me the gist, right? So I'm like, just read it, read this one now. For me, I'm that kid that I just focus on the pictures, right? You're like, okay, I don't look at the book, I don't look at the picture. Okay, that's enough. Just read the book and give me the gist. And, at night we would, gather together and, we'll read these books. And for me, what really opened my eyes, the first book that I read that opened my eyes to everything was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, right? I remember reading that book with my brother. I read it by the lantern, this local lamp. So he would read the first page and, we'll turn to the next page. He'll say, are you done? I say, yeah. And he would read and he would close his eye. He would just stay in the bed. I'm like, oh my God, Chex, you've not gotten to this part. And we read that book to the very end. And for me, that was my first introduction to magic, right? And that book opened my mind to everything. And I think my interpretation for storytelling changed. And, journeys, I kept on drawing. And, years later, I got into uni, and I realized that this art thing would not really pay the bills because my dad had that issue, like, okay, how are you going to make a living from this? So I started going into filmmaking, right? I would advise not to try this show. I was using bits of my school fees to make films, short films here and there, and I would take people, then I schooled in Benin, so I'll take people to Wida, and we'll go and shoot film, just rubbish stuff, and we'll come back, and everybody like, when it's going to be out, and all that stuff, and I'm like, just calm down, right? I did that in uni, and then we had this major big project that we needed funding for, and after school, I was still in school, just trying to get funding for this film, but it never worked. So my friend, told me like, Chex, you've been in Benin for a while, I think you should come to Lagos and, just start afresh and everything. So that was when, someone introduced me to Fedi, right? And the person said, okay, there's someone that wants to meet you, he saw your work, and for him, it felt like the work you're moving. I'm like, honestly, I'm not in that headspace, and I just want to, create artwork. I just don't want to meet anybody. I was like, and the first day, second day, he called again. I'm like, this guy wants to meet you. So I went to the island, and I came very early, sat down at the reception. In fact, I even slept. And someone came to me and was like, are you the one looking for Fedi? I'm like, yeah. And you're sleeping, you're here for an interview. I'm like, I never realized it was an interview. So, I met Fedi, and I just brought out this dead laptop, right? I think the system had started, when I turned the off button, there was this sound, and Fedi looked at me, and, it was funny. And then I started showing him my works, and I started pitching the movie idea I had from school. And, Fedi was just, I think he was just interested. I was just so confident at what I believe in. For me, I was not even looking at working with the company at the time. But Fedi had other intentions. I think at the time they were looking for a graphic artist and wondering if I could fit in the role. But I was a digital artist, right? I wasn't doing graphics and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, Fedi, this is my movie project. What do you think about it? It's like, okay, you know what? I'm running some, theaters here and there. I think, this stuff, we can make it. I'm like, really, you can make it? Just come with me in this journey. So I think he drove me to the bus stop, and he gave me this card. And then, like, okay, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And then we came on board. I came on board and joined the team, a very small team back then. And I was the graphics guy. But the truth is, graphics was really terrible. I never understood the concept of graphics. So, naturally people would download fonts, right? For me, I was creating these fonts and stuff from scratch, right? And, I remember the guys back then, when they look at the work, they'll be like, what are you doing? What's this? I'm like, it was just too arty, right? To do a random banner would make it very artistic, to have deep meanings, right? And it wasn't just working. So at some point, they stopped giving me work. And I realized that nobody was giving me anything to do. I would just come to the office and I'll stay there. And Fedi called me to the balcony. I'm like, Chex, this stuff you're doing, I don't understand. I'm like, how? I think even me, I don't understand. Nobody's giving me anything to do again. And we had that conversation, and it was like, I think you're very more of an arty guy, so probably you should just, try your hands on, this animation stuff. So we just had that conversation. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. He said, okay, there are a couple of people that are doing trainings here and there. I'll give it a shot. And I remember, everyone give a round of applause to Tosin Ututoju, please. So something happened, and I think she sent me a message one time, and she said, I think she came by the studio looking at the graphics, and she was like, the guys create Boondocks, South Park, and all this animation. I see your artwork tilting more towards that direction. And when she said that, Fedi had said some couple of things like that, but I was like, okay, maybe he's just, saying, but people started saying stuff about animation and stuff. Like, okay, let me give it a shot. I felt like animation was too far, in the distance. I just saw those things like magic. I never understood it. I just wanted to be an artist, and that's all. And so, I think my journey started with animation. I started going as far as, Ogun State, looking for one guy like that to teach me animation, and the guy was like, okay, so we sat down together and we are trying to figure out the software together. I was like, no, that is not the brush tool. This is the brush tool. He said, oh. I said, okay, you know it's going to happen. You go give me time like this, make I learn this thing. And I'm like, I paid you, man. So I collected all his tutorials and I went home, and I just started chewing on this stuff, but it wasn't really working. For me, I think the best way to learn is on the job, right? So at this point in time, I was kind of really confused, and then Freddie was with me throughout the whole journey, and I think they were really, really patient with me. And I came up with this speech, and I'm like, okay, Freddie, I want to pitch you a story, and don't worry, you like it. I think I'm good to go now with the animation. At this point in time, I've not learned jack. I don't know how to animate. Freddie was like, okay, let's give it a shot, let's give it a try. And then, pitch day, everybody sat down, it was tense. And then we sat down, and I had this, PowerPoint slide. I said, I think the title of that pitch was The Window to the Soul, right? So I started doing introduction to animation in Nigeria, and the journey to as a studio and everything. We're not even a studio, it's pretty much, a digital agency. And, I think that's when, we bet the idea of a magic carpet, right, in that document. And take notes, at this point in time, I didn't know how to animate. So I pitched a story, and at this point in time, Freddie, they were all excited. And, Freddie was like, oh, we're gonna make a feature film, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. So we're just really, really excited about it. And for me, I think I was tensed again. I was wondering, okay, now I've lied. How am I going to make this film work? So the title of that stuff was Meet the Igwes, right? And that's what the story I pitched. And immediately we got, I think the following week we got down to production. We had a guy from Tinso, he was writing, so he would write the first page and he would pass it to me. There was no process, there was nothing. He would write the second page, he would pass it to me, animate. So for me, I think YouTube was my friend. I would just say, okay, work circle, I would just go to YouTube, check it out, and just start animating. So I really, really, went through the process. And at the point in time, everybody was frustrated at me, like, okay, checks, what's happening? Like, it's not fast, right? We need this stuff out fast. I'm like, I'm killing myself. At this point, we didn't understand how animation worked, right? We never understood that, to create an animated film, it takes about 200, 300 people as a team to come together to make an animated film. So for me, I think I thank God that I never, got that reality check back then, right? Maybe if I did, I would have run away. I'm like, okay, no, this stuff is not possible. But I kept on being curious, like, why am I not doing it, right? I kept calling myself like, wait, check, you failed again, you're a failure. You tried this stuff out with live action. You get what I'm saying? You never made it through. Right now, your own craft as animation, you're still not able to, pull this through. And then I start living in that anxiety and that tension. And it wasn't really, really working. And we had to sit down and restructure and then think things through again. And that's when we started thinking about hiring people. We started thinking about, okay, reaching out. At this point in time, we've done, some commercials. I don't know how many of you have seen this Ego Ibo back then of two characters making a phone call and all that stuff. So that was the stuff that really, gave me the confidence that, okay, this stuff I can really do this stuff, because everything I did was for the first time. And we decided to increase our capacity, and that's when the training started, and it started getting serious for me. And we went as far as, Yaba Tech. We started speaking to graphic department students. We went as far as Unilag, started speaking to people and in graphic departments to come join the team. And I was training, and I was like an apostle for animation and art. I was telling people about this stuff, and for them it was very foreign, because if you go to some of these schools, they're still doing the traditional thing, right? In a graphic department where they were teaching you about prints, They'll probably be telling you the traditional way, dabbing with foam and everything. Like, no, you can easily do this stuff in system, right? So for me, we went through all that phase. We trained, and here we are now as a studio of about 50 animators. And for me, the journey is still unfolding. We have exciting projects. In fact, I think we are one studio in Nigeria that really position ourselves as a full-fledged studio, in the sense that we have 3D departments, we have 2D departments, and we have traditional department that does traditional work. So we have exciting projects. The Passport of Madam Elia, I know many of you have heard about it. That's what we've been in production. So for us, we felt like it's very, very necessary to come from literature, right? If you look at my story, you understand now, like, where literature played a very significant role. So looking at African literature, I never knew that, okay, one of the books my dad bought and I read, I would be animating it, right? And now, it's all connecting and it's making sense. And I'm in the studio every day, we're working, and, there's the joy that comes with creativity. And, when you sit down with your teammates and you guys are, trying to flesh out an idea and trying to think about, animation, it's just so beautiful. The truth is, you have these things in your mind, and you just, at first, it's a leap of faith. I would say you just have these thoughts, you have this imagination in your head, and some way, somehow, you have this story, and you're like, okay, you know what, let's make it work. And someone does a sketch there, and from the sketch goes to a coloring, and from there, okay, let us make some little body parts move, and before you know it, that character comes alive, and that character is being given life. You get, so for the first time, I think in this part of the world, we are really doing it. We are really, really doing it. Our short film just came out. I don't know how many of you saw SIP. SIP. Please, if you haven't seen SIP, please go to our YouTube channel, look for animated short film SIP, and watch it. I think it's a brilliant work. So pretty much, I think this is where I would stop now for my story, so I don't say too much.
Thank you very much, Akube. I actually have one question, because you said a lot about feeling anxious and that feeling of you're failing. What was the one thing that inspired you and got you back on that horse? Because I know a lot of us have that dread that I'm not doing so well, I'm not going to make it. So what can you say was the one thing that, motivated you to keep going?
Okay, that's a tough one, because I think that's a day-to-day. If I'll be realistic, it happens every day. Being a creative in Nigeria sometimes can be really hard, and sometimes it can be very discouraging, right? So I think looking at the journey that you've been through and understanding that, I think someone said something today, say it's written. Do you get what I'm saying? You just need to understand that some things is written. They are written. And when you understand that it's written, you just have to keep trying. And you're like, okay, you know what? I will just keep trying, I'll keep going. So it's not easy. I could just say, okay, keep trying. But I think once in a while, I think the people around you also matters, right? And you also have to have, friends that can tell you the truth, and people that are in the same wavelength as you. And anytime you fall in that pit, they're always there to pick you up. I think, Fedi is that guy for me, and, every now and then it just fall into that headspace. We are always there talking to each other.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Akube. Please, do we have any questions? Anyone in the audience who wants to ask him something?
Okay, I'm Barnabas. So I heard you were talking about, like, when you were starting up, you didn't really have like a full grasp of animation and what was going on. So I'm currently in a, should I say, similar dilemma where you are starting something, you actually have like a portfolio, like things you've done, but now it boils down to your physical, your mental acceptance, right? you don't know if you are really good at this or you are a fraud. So how do you really beat that? Like what was that moment for you that said, oh, okay, I'm actually good at this, let me keep pushing?
So I think trust in your process to begin with. I think confidence, there's a brutal confidence you just have to have in yourself, and also trust, in the, so again, to conquer that feeling of fraud is if you have a genuine relationship with art as a person. Let us say art is a person. You have that genuine relationship and you have this strong connection and love with that art, and you trust in your own creativity, because no two people draw alike. Everybody have their own fingerprint. Everybody have the style that appeals to them. You have what appeals to you as an artist, right? And you have to trust that. So for me, I think another way that can help you is to see how you can join a studio. I think what we are doing right now is that we have a Magic Lab training ground, that's available to everybody. If you're interested in animation, if you want to come on board, you can just, fill up the form, and it's as easy as that, and you come intern with us and work with us. So I think surrounding yourself with fellow artists that can help you develop, you can only go as far as, to an extent, going on with this journey by yourself. So you need people, you need friends. I think the new need friends, right? Anytime you're trying to break through something, or you need people like mind to share, to compare. You need that healthy competition once in a while, right? So I think above all, just trust in your creative process, and just maintain that relationship you have, with the arts, and that's it.
All right, just one thing. We want to play a clip. Kitchex, please celebrate and clap for him. But I want you guys to pick something he said. We didn't figure it out very easily. In fact, I already remembered if I knew how hard it was, maybe, but we just entered with passion. Recently, I got a call. They want us to come and lecture in the US in November. I was like, they said, I've been following your studio. You guys are doing amazing work. Come and lecture. I was like, lecture? We've been hacking it the whole time. But the lecture is going to be the hack. The hacking it. Because the reality of things is that there is an entire body of literature that we always doing presentations, sessions, and just studying together. So every time I go to talk in all of these events, they're like, where have you guys been? Where have you guys been? Guys, it's been in the trench. Like, what you pick there, you don't pick it in Harvard. So when you go to Harvard and you're talking about it, they're like, where are you coming from? You came fully made. Nope, we came raw, right? We just happen to have done along the way. Okay, we'll just play the 1 minute and then we go on to our next speaker. So guys, don't forget, this is just to help you understand that you're not alone. Everyone is working out their journeys. So never feel like, creating can be a lonely journey. More so, pioneering a space within creative sector can be even more lonely so, right? But what we need us to have is to have ourselves where you can call. If he doesn't understand production, he can tell you. If he doesn't understand your space in fashion, maybe he'll tell you something in production that can work. Edith, are we good to go? All right.
Universe bound with magic and wonder. A land overflowing with palpable dreams. The sleeping giant rises from her slumber and awakens the rest of the world with her. It is on this soil that legends are made, heroes are born, and villains are vanquished. And now, the tale of a continent thought to be buried in the dust emerges as a phoenix from the ashes. A continent whose time has come. This is the story of a new Africa. From Africa.
Hi everyone, hope we're having a good time. We're moving on to the next speaker. Allow me to introduce another amazing personality. He works globally, offering a variety of design services to clients and creating content to educate and inspire the next generation of creatives. He's an architect and a podcaster. Please, a round of applause for Oladimeji Ajebile.
Hi everyone. I can see so many faces. And the introvert in me is screaming, go back, go back. But then, how many of you here what you wanted to be when you were younger? Was there any doctor at 2 years old or 4 years old? And is now a doctor? Is there? How about an engineer and you're doing it now? Why is everybody so silent? All right, let's be serious. How about a pilot? Many of us, pilot. How about a detective? I mean, this is not to make us feel weird, right? That we had so many dreams when we were younger. Many of us we hear that question a lot. What do you want to be when you grow up? And you will say so many beautiful things. And every single time you get asked that question, it's like the answer keeps changing. I mean, architects, right? Like you mentioned. But then there was that boy that wanted to be a super spy after watching Megas. And then also saw Jackie Chan's movie, and then, the vision increased again. But then a number of years down the line, we could see things change. You got exposed to a lot more things, life happened, and then you ended up where you were. Some people, even their parents, have sort of pushed them into some deep pits. And then getting yourself out of these places was quite difficult. But one thing we keep learning is you're not just one person with one potential. I think it's a lot more. Like he mentioned, there was this, art, a lot of other things happened along the way, and then he got him to where he is right now. I can tell you for a fact that this is not where it's going to end up. I love your work, by the way. So, what is that thing about us that makes us want to change every single time? Why do you study one thing in school and then you're doing something else now? Or is there anybody who, what you studied in school is what you're using to sort of build a life right now? All right, the opposite. Okay, so we can see there are more persons who, after school, everything just changed and you're seeing the way world sort of pans out. Now, my own story is not so much one that is interesting, right? It's very similar to most of us. That child who wanted to be a pilot and then got into school, and the very first thing that he realized was that he doesn't like reading. So I ran into all these technical drawing classes and the rest just to like pen things down. And after a while, I realized that I probably made a mistake going to science class. And eventually entered the university, studied architecture, and realized that the first year, second year, we were doing physics, chemistry, and biology. Why? What is going on? I just want to come and draw on paper or whatever it is and live my life. But then, along the way, I realized that architecture actually opened my mind to see more, that there are actually several lenses to view life. Yes, I wanted to be this, I wanted to be that. But now I'm seeing a way where I'm not seeing it from the perspective of just buildings. I'm seeing it beyond that as a lifestyle. And then I made the very first move. Right then from school, found a way to start using Photoshop, a blank canvas, and was able to develop things from just that space. Many designers today, they will tell you the same story. You found one software like that and you wanted to explore, and it became what you're doing right now. And eventually you left school and then you get to a particular event, like an event like this, you're networking with people, and then they start asking you, what do you do? And then you start. I'm a designer, I make videos, I also like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and the person is looking at you thinking, who is this jack of all trades? And there's this popular saying, jack of all trades, master of, who can complete it, please? Master of none. Then, so it actually says jack of all trades, master of none is actually better than master of one. It means that you actually have the ability to reach into a lot of different little things, know them to some degree, and be able to build something for yourself that lasts. I mean, you can stand in any crowd, you can enter any room, and still be able to give value or impact based on little things you know, compared to one person who has devoted his entire life to just one thing. Our parents did this a lot, right? Civil servants, you worked in one place for 40 years. I mean, they raised us, they made us, who we are. But then right now, things are changing. But in this digital space, that it requires you to actually find yourself in any sphere whatsoever and still be able to make impact. I mean, we see today, MTN started as telecoms, and not so you can see how things are changing. The best of the best things we see some 50 years ago have changed. Now, you can like these persons on my screen right now. Who are these people? We know them, right? And are these people that can inspire you? Pretty much, right? All right. Now, these persons, you might actually understand them based on the specific things that people talk about. For example, Barack Obama, we say the president, but nobody talks about the fact that this guy, he writes, he's an author, he does so many things, he used to be a lawyer. There are so many things to him that nobody talks about except the one that is popular. Same thing with the lady, to the far right, that's Maya Angelou. So many things. Elon Musk as well. You would think these people are just great because of one thing that they do, but it's because of several other different things. And I know this for a fact because I'm a creator as well, and I understand that there is these multiple potentials that most creators carry. What would push you from studying economics to becoming someone who inspires millions of people, not just by the things you say, but by the way you live your life, by the things you show them, how you help them build communities? It goes beyond just that one thing. So when I say that, I don't think you have just one, potential in your life. I don't think you have just one true calling. You can have several. But then, can you pursue all of these? Can you? No. So how do you navigate a life where you want to do something meaningful with your life and not want to stick to just one thing? I mean, if I say I want to become an architect only, I probably will fail several times because a lot of us get bored easily just by doing one thing. You start doing it today and then you realize that 5 years from now, something else has come up, you want to improve, want to grow. Imagine if Instagram just stuck with just pictures. So these persons are jack of all trades. But one thing that makes them interesting is that they've been able to build beyond where they are. And me right now, I said I studied architecture, but right now, what do you know me for? Content. What else? Design. Oh, that person should know me really well. Interesting. What else? Podcast. Any other thing? That's still content. Now you can see that it is the part of you decide to show to the world that it would actually hold on to. But then beneath that person, there are a lot more persons that nobody talks about. And I want to make you understand that there is multiple potentials for most creators if only you can reach into it, and how this can actually help you. Because every single time they call you a jack of all trades, you probably feel like this is a bad thing. You feel like they're abusing me again. But then, can you reach into that space of yourself and find out all those things you think you can really do and start doing it well, even though you're doing it in bits and pieces? Now, curiosity is a strength for most of us. And that's the reason why we are doing the things we're doing today. Because if you're not curious that, okay, maybe art could be a thing, it won't become what it is today. I was very curious. I wanted to understand, is there anything aside buildings, architecture, just what else is beyond these four walls? And decided to explore. So I dropped architecture for some 2 years and tried to explore the world of creativity and design to a place where I'm not doing it as a job right now. I'm doing it as a way of life. Let me see what can really come out of this. And then I started. When I started in 2018 actively, I saw a lot of people on Instagram doing amazing things. There were makeup artists. At some point it was makeup artists. Then before and after pictures, they will show you the before and after. And then after some time, it became people who do like outfits. And then it got to a point it was comedians. And right now, who is taking the space right now? Skit makers, but more of creators. And this has actually been going on since 2020, thereabout, because now, just from a smartphone, you can do so many things, which means you've been curious to know what is behind this little device I have. What can I do with it? Let me see the possibilities, and then you eventually start creating really great things. So curiosity is a strength that I believe every single one of us can leverage. I leveraged it, even though I'm still growing in this same process. I mean, tomorrow I could just wake up and say, I'm no longer doing videos. I want to start making documentaries. It goes beyond that. I want to understand, why is this thing happening the way it is? Why must they tell me to study architecture? What else can I do with my life? Like right now, that same question I asked you when we first started, if they ask you now, what do you want to do with your life? Some people are still asking the same questions. Even though you've achieved a number of things, what makes that happen? There is more to you than what you're currently doing. Now, who knows who this is? Mr. That person knows it. So this is Mr. Potato Head. And if you really watch children's cartoon, I watch it a lot because they sort of help you think better, they make you more creative. And you realize that this particular character can become anything he chooses to become. Now, this is a typical Mr. Potato Head, toy for a child. And everything goes into that big head. And this particular character can become anything. Who can we say? He can become anything based on whatever he decides to pull out of himself. So, with this knowledge, I was able to see that, look, yes, I can be an architect. Yes, I can start this, I can start that. But then how do I leverage these things to make sure that I don't remain the same? Because you can be bringing several things out of yourself and it's reaching out there, but it's not really doing anything meaningful. So, the first thing I believe, or I tried to work on, was this discovery of myself. I can't stand here and do this some 7 years ago. I mean, the very first time I had to address a class of 30, I froze for like 30 minutes. And some of my friends had to escort me out of the room. An architect, as an architecture student, you have to do presentations of your project. So my very first one in year one, I put all my works on the display board, and then they said it was Ajigwide's time. I came out, and I just stood there. And they were asking me, what is your name? I could not say anything, because I used to have terrible stage fright. But then getting back, I was like, I didn't understand what was going on. And then I sat down, I was watching a couple of TED Talks, and I kept seeing people talk about how you can leverage being an introvert. You can really discover the power of being someone who doesn't want to be on the screen, but still make impact. So I said, you know what, I'm going to understand how this thing works. And the first thing I had to do was to stand in front of a mirror every single time I had to address a crowd. Like today, I actually practiced my speech for a bit. I sit in front of a mirror and we start doing, I'm like this, I'm like that. And then the very first I had to address a number of persons that was above, 500. I was standing in front of the entire church and I was sweating through my blazers. And the pastor had to come and pat me on the back and say, don't worry, you get better. And then fast forward to some 2 years after, I was addressing a crowd of over 3,000 at Rural Gate. And that was really mind-blowing. But imagine if I didn't start from just standing in front of that mirror to discover what I really can do. There's more to you than what you see. So discover that thing. Really search within yourself. There is more to you. It's meant to be a story, but I'm doing motivational speech. Forgive me. Now, do we know what this is? Yes. I mean, we all know him for chess, right? But then I decided to do some digging. And I realized that this guy sings, he plays the guitar, he also draws, he does so many things. But then it is that thing he decided to sort of put in front that everybody is seeing. But then there is more to him than chess. So discovering yourself gives you that leverage, even though you can actually leverage one as the one that stands in front of every other thing. But then you have some that keeps you going. I mean, I wrote a tweet some days ago about the idea that you have to leverage or you have to monetize every single hobby you have. You are not a product. Why monetize everything? Pick one. Let it stand in front while others just bring you joy, makes you more fulfilled. It makes this whole lifestyle more perfect. Do we understand? Are we following? I'm making sense, right? Thank God. Now, you need to actually allow flexibility. If you're not flexible enough to see that there is more to you, you would get fixed in that lifestyle forever. I mean, this guy got to a point where he realized that, okay, I've done, PayPal for a while. Let me switch. and then build something else, continue to another one, to a point where you even decided that, you know what, I'm taking everybody to Mars. It goes beyond just wanting to live a better life for yourself. If you're flexible enough, you can actually get to a point where everything you try to start or you try to push forward starts to become something. It really does. So, but one of the things that I believe this can help you do is, do we know what this is? Yeah. Have you ever seen this guy play ultimate frisbee? So there's this particular sport he does. Everybody knows him for, tech YouTube videos, but then he also does that, and he's excellent at that as well, because his team always wins the championship. And I'm wondering, how do you get the same time to do that and that? It means that you need to actually go out of that particular thing you've put at the center of your life and try to also do something else that brings you more fulfillment. Because it gets to a point where your hobby that you monetize start feeling like a chore. I mean, if you're a creator here, have you ever gotten to a point where you need to make videos and it has become a job other than something you enjoy? I won't say more than that. You said? Clients, right? And then, being a jack of all trades actually makes you great in business, because you understand multiple spheres, you understand things from different perspectives. And people like this that I've seen, one person that I've seen, well, there are a lot more other people that I've seen, but the one person I see that can do this really, that's done this really well, is this lady here. We know her for songs, but then it got to a point, she's built one of the biggest, products that we've all experienced. Well, I don't use them, but but we understand. So because you know that this is one thing you know how to do, you can actually take a step back and see what else is in me that I can explore, that can make me great, or not even great, that can make me fulfilled. So I did architecture, went on a break for a few months, a few years eventually, and realized that me going all out with this new lifestyle of understanding design beyond buildings but into lifestyle made me see that, you know what, I can actually bring these same ideas into buildings. How can you experience a space in such a way that you're not seeing it as just a building, you're seeing it as a connection between you and that atmosphere. Some of us enter some hotels and it looks as though you're home. You step in, it makes a sound, and it gives you this very interesting, aura, like you're in a place that is welcoming. That is what that actually helped me do, because I realized that I can take a step back from all this life, focus on something else, try and see I can build something new, and then eventually came back to put everything together to make something that earns me money, helps me make a living, and also create the overall lifestyle for myself. Now, I'll be ending with this, that one of the best things that I feel most of us need to do, that I did, is to learn by doing. You mentioned it as well. It's not figured out. Nobody has a life figured out, like we all say. So you learn as you do. There was this thing that I learned by force, which is this 80% learning, 80% doing. You learn 20% sort of practice as much as you can. If I want to learn a new skill or a new software, for example, I just go on YouTube and I watch a video. After watching the video, the only time I can tell myself that I know how to do this thing is if I can reproduce it in a better way without going back to that tutorial, then I feel like, okay, I know it. So that is true practice. And then what I just mentioned. So there is more to us than what we see. If only we can try and find that discovery. Find it. Once you find it, be flexible with it. You don't have to monetize everything. You don't have to say everything is going to be something I make a living from. Leave some for just, that extra little bit of experience, right? Expression. And the last thing I'll be saying to you now is that, so these are a couple of persons that I've seen who have done this really well. I mean, there are a lot more persons, but I just said, let me put together this few. So let me squeeze in his face. But then, they were something, or they were studying something, trying a different life, and then realized that, okay, I can actually bring out something new from this old experience. I'm more than this job description. I'm more than this certificate. And you can bring out so much from yourself. So the last thing now is that until you possess this ability to simplify your ideas, your thoughts, whatever it is you want to do, without losing that quality or that value, you will still struggle with producing your best work. If anybody wants to tell you otherwise, realize this, that the simpler it gets, the more impact it can have with people. Imagine you're trying to do everything and it's looking so complex, and a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old can understand it. Why do you think they are the smartest? Watching cartoons makes them smarter. Like my nephews came to me one day and were telling me names of dinosaurs. I'm like, what are you saying? And that's because they have a way to grasp things as much as simple as it is. It gives them more ability to express themselves. So if you really wanted to be a pilot when you're younger, and now you're a content creator, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. You've gotten to a place where now you can express yourself the way you really want to, and still connect back to that same life you really wanted. Who said you can't become a pilot at 70? So, thank you very much.
So please, before you sit on that, just to recap a couple of things, and I want you to connect the thread. Chex he spoke about embracing the process and doing it afraid. And don't be, one day you start amateur, you end up a professional. Now, he said something very interesting about curiosity. They told us curiosity killed the cat. I'm afraid the curiosity didn't kill the cat. The car did. It was just crossing the road. So you have to reinterpret things. They actually said a bird in hand is worth 10 in the bush. What about if you go after that 10 in the bush? You might get to, you shall might not get anywhere. But you will discover something else that might be more rewarding. So he spoke about dealing with fears, which I think many of us may have journeyed through, that he will stand in front of the mirror and practice. And I think that's so powerful that I want us to keep in mind, right? And then the other part where he said, you're more than your skill. Say, I'm more than my skill. I'm more than my CV. You're more than your CV, right? I know that they said, put the best foot forward. I work under pressure. I can do many things. I had this investor that I met, and the investor told me, so interestingly, he said, okay, you guys want a studio. And at an agency, I was feeling cool, and he said, are you pastor a church? And I realized there was a problem here. Because he was like, he was going somewhere. How do you straddle everything? I said, but you haven't seen my face on a billboard. That should say something, that I'm not pushing it like it's a career. It's, for me, like a lifestyle. We all are into ministry full time. We just pour into it. And he said, and you run for election. Then I knew the conversation was over. Because honestly, not every investor is for you. Not every client is for you. Any client that would say, why are you designing and you're doing podcasts? That person is not the right client. The client that would say you do all is fine. That person will pay. You pay well. Okay, one question for Oladmeji, and then we'll move on to the next speaker. Anybody with a question here? Okay.
Hi everyone. So my question, I hope that you and Chikim and every other speaker answers this question. But before I ask it,
okay.
Okay, before I ask it, I'd like to say something about the other guy that asked the question, the other one, about feeling like a fraud. So for me, even if you're a fraud, so what? You're not the only fraud there. First of all, and the fact that you've gone that far and you've gotten that opportunity shows that you're a brilliant fraud. So yeah, even if you're a fraud, so what? Then the question I have is that how did you all get clarity as to and find out that this is what is for me? And I ask this question because I'm a content writer, and you know, like with the whole new wave in tech writing has like come to the forefront, and it's one of the most lucrative forms of writing. And at some point I wanted to explore it, even if on a freelance basis, but I couldn't even write one single tech article, and I'm a brilliant writer. So I think at some point I realized that the tech writing is not for me. I'm a content writer. I thrive in PR, marketing, entertainment content. Even script writing is not for me yet. So like, how did you all get to that clarity?
But what she said about fraud is imposter syndrome. It happens to the best of us. Even all the big artists will tell you they feel that way sometimes. So live with it.
Yeah, and imposter syndrome is a high quality problem. So talking about clarity, I mean, you still won't figure it out. So it's a lifelong problem. And right now, I still feel like I shouldn't be standing here. It's just a thing. Do you understand? So figuring it out or getting clarity, if you get to a point where you feel like you've gotten it or you understand it, then you've lost it. So one thing I would say to you is, for me, how I was able to sort of keep going is realizing that the more I practice, the better I get. You can't do tech writing right now. It doesn't mean you still won't be able to do it. You probably haven't practiced enough. So you try now, it didn't look good. You show it to people to see. What do you think? My very first video was I was stuttering and looking down. I couldn't look at the camera, and the video lasted 17 minutes.
And you posted it?
Yes, I did. It's still on YouTube. So realizing that every time I go back to that video, I'm like, who was this? But then it allows me, it just shows me that, okay, I've done this thing over and over again, and now I can keep on. So if you can pick that particular thing you feel you're not good at and practice it over and over again. I mean, there's this argument about Messi and Ronaldo. Let's not go there. But you see, one person probably was not born with it, but also practiced. We saw one person who has been practicing over and over again, and you sort of matched up. So the more you practice, the better you get. Like he said, you learn by doing, not just feeling, oh, I can't do this thing, and then you just let it go. If it's really in your heart, then pursue it.
Please clap to that. I would say, thank you. I'll say this with a pinch of salt. I think on a level, clarity is overrated. I'm sorry about that, a pinch of salt. It gets overrated. Many times clarity in seasons of your life, you may have it. In some seasons, you may not have it. But I think it's about the rhythm. So in a season, when you feel that, I work with energy. So when I feel like I have the energy for this period, we can make this happen. This is an idea I've always wanted to do, where creative can connect, deepen conversation, collaborate. But I was not in the headspace, right? I was doing stuff. And when I'm in that energy, when I have that energy, I read my energy and I move in that because it's a lot natural and I'm not forcing it. So there's a sense that life is in seasons and life is a flow. Like I ran for election 4 years ago. I have no intention of running. I'm not in the season. And yet the wave is looking like all the radicals that wanted to kick everybody out. Come out. No. So I think you should also don't be pressured by fear of missing out to force yourself. FOMO is a thing. You're not being led by FOMO. You're led by your heart. Let it be intuitive to you, right? And don't be afraid to walk the lonely path. He told me that he took a gap year, left school for 1 year. Everybody was like, what are you doing? Finish it. That 1 year was a period where he had to even develop himself more. And today I think he's better for that 1 year than if he had continued in the path and finished. We're not in a race against another person. We're against with ourselves. So please just discontinue this idea of competing. The idea is celebrate people when they're in their season. Yours will come. But embrace your own journey and be the best. Give yourself the time you need. We have a few other speakers who just arrived. I think I saw Tunde for a bit, right? And Ify, thank you so much for coming. Please celebrate Ify. I think Tunde is somewhere. And Anita is here. Salem is here. Chike is here. So it's going to be quick. We have 10 minutes per speakers. And we hope that we can do good because it's quite interesting. You can get into it.
All right. Thank you, Freddie. Okay, man, I feel inspired. I don't know about you, but I'm very motivated. Next up, we have a beautiful art director. Come up. Everyone give a round of applause for the one and only Anita Ashiru.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I need to let you guys know that this is my first time doing this. I don't speak to an audience, but we're going to try to have fun with it because what I do is really fun, and my hope is that I'm able to actually get some of you to pivot to my industry. Okay, so I'm going to start by introducing myself. I'm Anita Ashiru, and I am many things, depending on the day that you ask me, and my mood. So I'm an art director, a production designer, an entrepreneur, a storyteller, and a brand and marketing strategist. And I currently run a creative agency called AA Creatives. Can I have the presentation, please? Yeah, I run a creative agency called AA Creatives, and we have designed visuals for award-winning music videos for artists such as Davido, Tiwa Savage, Rema, Ira Star, CK, Burna Boy, to mention a few. And for some top brands, local and international, Guinness, Coca-Cola, Apple, Bet Niger, 1xBet, to also mention a few. So we've done quite a lot. But my story has not always been like this. 3 years ago, I'd have introduced myself differently. I would have said I'm a brand and marketing strategist, a 9-to-5er, and I used to, day to day, design and execute campaigns for brands. But then, as Dimeji said, jack of all trades, master of none. And this is something that has, carried me throughout my life. But then this is a lie, especially the last phrase, master of none. That's a bloody lie. And if you've heard that phrase or somebody tells you that, tell them that they are a liar. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, before I tell you why. Growing up, I wanted to be so many things. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a fashion designer like my mother. And at some point, I even wanted to be a lawyer because I loved arguing. And people would tell me that, you can argue or be a lawyer. And that thing was in my head. And I thought, yes, that's a really good one. I want that career. I wanted to, wear the robe and wear the wig and be a lawyer. It looked cool. But then at the age of 15, it became much clearer. I thought I'd be Mark Zuckerberg, or the African version of Mark Zuckerberg. And I carried that inspiration so close to my heart. Like, I really used to behave like him. I'd research about this guy, how he used to dress, and I'll dress that way, black on black. And people used to think that I was weird, but then that's who I was, and that's who I wanted to be. So I started dressing like the reflection of what I wanted to be. And I remember telling my best friend that, we can do this. And I was just 15, what did I know? I didn't really know much, right? And my best friend was like, okay, yeah. And at the time, I have really supportive friends, by the way. My friends and my family, they are so supportive, and I'm so blessed to have them, because with my many changes, with my many, I want to be this and I want to be that, they're backing me in full support. So my best friend and I started a blog in Ibadan. I grew up, and I was actually born and bred in Ibadan, grew up there all my life before I had to leave for school. And we started a blog at the age of 15 that served our peers, so teenagers in Ibadan. So this blog was where people would come for hot gists, updates, latest, anything, fashion and style advice, where to go for the best burgers. Because Ibadan, when you hear Ibadan, what do people say? They think we're local, right? There's always you people in Ibadan are Raz. And then we wanted to change that perception. And then my best friend and I, we can say that at least within what we could do, we were able to do something about it. So this led me to actually pursue a degree in journalism. So I went to Kenya and I studied journalism for 4 years. And when I left, or when I was leaving, my dad told me that in these 4 years, I don't want you to focus on journalism. I want you to discover yourself, because this is your time. I think I went to university at the age of 16, so I was really young, and my dad didn't want me to just fit myself into that one box of doing that one thing. So I took that really seriously, and I went and I did everything. I built businesses, I sold them when I got bored, as long as they were profitable. I ran campaigns, political campaigns in university. I organized events. I did so many things as long as I had the opportunity. And I'd say that right now, where I'm at, every single thing I did along the way has helped me, or is helping me with what I'm doing right now. So, if I get to that. So, how did I start production design, or how did I start even marketing? So when I graduated, it made sense for me to go into marketing. I love storytelling, being able to forge a brand, sell products and services, build and sustain communities through storytelling. It was really thrilling, but also challenging, and I like that challenge. One day you're working on at a bank brand, the next day it's a food brand. It was really exciting. Every day wasn't the same thing, and that was the perfect fit for me. Until it wasn't. Like, after a couple of years, I got bored. I'll go to the office and I'm going in late. I was just so uninspired and I was not motivated anymore. And I used to wonder, why? And the saddest part was not knowing where this feeling came from. I was just there. It was just there. But luckily for me, actually, this was another opportunity presenting itself. This was when a friend of mine, Dami Twitch, is now a music video director. He reached out to me and he said, can you do a treatment? I didn't know what a treatment was, but I was like, yeah. He was like, okay, I need it by tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And I was like, shit, what have I gotten myself into? So I went on the internet and I Googled, what's the treatment? And I saw that a treatment is basically a document that breaks down an idea. And I'm like, this is what I've been doing now. It's like strategy. So I did a treatment as if I was doing a marketing strategy. But this time, I was selling the song using the visuals. And the clients loved it. They approved it. That was the first time. And Dami told me, this is the first time a client would approve my treatment in 30 minutes. Because they saw it was so detailed, it was so well thought out. It felt like a strategy. They felt like we understood what they were trying to do with the song. And then Dami was like, see this thing that you wrote, come and do it. Because it was quite complicated. And that was actually my first experience with art direction. I didn't know anything about production design, anything about art direction. But Dami was like, don't worry, just come on board, we'll help you. And I'd say that I wouldn't also be standing here. I know Dami is not here, but wherever it is, without Dami Twitch, because Dami Twitch really like held my hand, and we both figured it out. So, what is production design? I describe production design as the gold dust that allows the audience escape into the magical world of film. It is building new realities, some that exist and others that is totally made up. You know, it's limitless. We create things just for your own visual sake. We create, as you can see here, everything you're seeing on the screen right now was created just because of this film. Just because we want the viewers, you, to get roped into this new reality, this thing that has never existed before, but it's existing in film. When you watch a film and you almost forget that it's fictional, you almost forget that this thing was made just for the sake of this film. That is what production design is. So in my years as a production designer, I've done so many amazing things, and things that I never thought I would ever do, like building an amphitheater in the middle of a warehouse, building Chinatown in the middle of Lufasi Park, or even like a dystopian village in the middle of nowhere. Production design is limitless. We're able to design a whole space into, as I said, places that you never know that it didn't exist before project. Sorry. So these are some of my works. I'm not trying to show off, I'm just trying to show some of the visuals that we've done. We've worked with, this is a thank you. So here are some of the frames, and each of this frame, I need you guys to understand that every single thing you see in each of the frame, every single element were all brought together intentionally for this visual, for that frame, for it to look the way it does, for it to feel the way it does. You're looking at a party scene, and you're seeing the lights, and you're seeing the people, and you're seeing the sweat dropping from their skin. You're able to you're able to kind of feel that energy through the visual, and that is what production design is all about. And yeah, these are some of my work. You can see some of, maybe if you guys watch a lot of music videos, you can recognize some of the frames. This is Finesse, Fills, and Buju, and so many things. So when you watch a film next time, you guys please try to pay attention, because a lot of work goes behind what you're looking at. So I've had a lot of interesting experiences throughout my time. I've been doing this for about 3 years, I think, 2 to 3 years now. And one in particular that stands out to me, and I'll be talking to you guys about it, is the best music video. How many of you have seen this music video? The best, right? Okay. This was actually my first experience in what we call world building. World building is building a whole new reality in a space that they gave me a black canvas and they told me, build Chinatown. And we did. So I'm going to talk you guys through what I did for the project, how I did it, because many people always ask me, how do you come up with your ideas? How do you guys do it? And trust me, it's not that easy, but then anybody can actually do this. So for this project, I did 2 things, right? I came up with a concept, and I also executed the production design. So sometimes, as an art director, sometimes they'll come to me with the idea already, and they're like, okay, execute. But other times, as a creative director, they'll come to me without an idea at all, and they tell me to come up with something. So for this project, Davido actually had the idea of Karate Kid. So they came to us and they said, we want a music video for the best, and our reference is Karate Kid. That is all they told us. So the first step is to do your research, right? And with my background in journalism, research is something I know how to do really well. So I went and I dove straight in. I watched almost all the Karate Kid's version, and I started to ask myself, why Karate Kid? What was it about the story or the plot that ties back to the song or the artist and their relationship? So I needed to come up with a concept that connects the theme of Karate Kid, the relationship that Davido and Mayokun shared, the lyrics of the song, and also the energy of the music. Because sometimes you watch a music video and you can't connect both. It's like you can almost mute the music video, mute the audio, and play another song, and it makes more sense. So it's always hard, you know, when you have so many interesting ideas, but it's really hard actually connecting it to the tempo and the energy of the song. And that's something that I had to hack. But then we were able to do that. So apart from watching the Karate Kid, you have to do more research, check out other resources, like other films, anime, pictures on Pinterest or YouTube, or anything that just, you know, catches your eye, because you're looking through so many things and you're like, oh, that looks cool. Then you pick it out and put it somewhere. And maybe somewhere, someday, you look back at it and it can inspire an idea. because that's how I come up with my ideas. I can look at a picture and I'm able to imagine the scenario the picture was taken. So you look and you think about what happened before this picture and what's going to happen after this picture is taken. And I'm able to formulate a scene for a music video. So we can see, these are my references, and now we can see how these references now translated into our actual visual. This is where Jackie Chan was training Jaden, and we can see that here, how we translated it to Davido training Mayokon. Also the same thing here. And this look for Davido was actually inspired by my brother's favorite anime. And I was like, oh, that's cool, because my brother was really excited when I told him about the project. He was like, oh yes, he sent me a lot of anime, and he was like, you must use this thing, you must use this thing. So yeah, I did, and this inspired Davido's look for the music video. So as you can see, every single thing is all coming together now. And I can't do all of this by myself. So I have the idea, and now it's time to execute. I cannot build, I'm not a carpenter, I'm not a painter, right? So I have a team, an amazing team, by the way, and some of them are actually here. And these people are phenomenal. I have carpenters, painters, graffiti artists, light engineers, prop makers, set decorators, assistants, that we all come together now under my leadership. And we're like, okay, what are we doing? Now, everybody needs to share the same vision, right? So you're now leading a team. These people are also experts at what they do. So you cannot come and tell them this is the type of wood to use. They will look at you like, what are you saying? Right? So you need to trust your team, and that's something I had to learn to do. Because sometimes I can over micromanage, and it can become irritating, right? So I had to also learn that about myself. Like, I need to give people space and room to do their thing. Even if I'm trying to get the best out of them, I need to allow them also process this thing the way they know how to process it. Not everybody works at your own pace, but they will still deliver what you want them to deliver. So understanding that about these people, I work with carpenters that don't even understand English. So I had to learn that, maybe it's not English I'll be talking to this one. No. I'll call someone that can speak the language that they understand. Or I'm speaking to a painter that he doesn't understand colors. He wants you to just show him. So it's to hold his hand and to show him. So everybody, they have their own process. They have their own way of doing things. But all of these people are also really excellent at what they do. And that's what I do. I lead my team, and we're able to execute this beautiful visual. So everything you see here is so intentional. You can see the structure at the back. It was built from scratch. From the lanterns to the fire, every single thing was put together to make these frames look the way it does. To sell you the idea that we are in China. And I remember reading the comments on it, because when the video came out, I was really like tense. I'm like, will people like this thing? Will people insult us that these people failed? And people were like, wow, I didn't know, is this in Nigeria? And that's the kind of thing I like to see. People looking at your work and they're wondering, how did you guys do this? How did you guys pull it off? So as I said, this was my first real experience in world building. And now I've done so many amazing things. Almost this was like the beginning of everything I was able to do. Last year, I had a really, really hectic project that made me question myself. You know, a project to come on your table and you're like, who asked me? Like, who sent me? Like, can I just quit and just run back to my 9 to 5? Because I was doing fine there. But then, again, surround yourself with a support system that would always motivate you. Like today, I was really nervous about being here. A lot of my friends are here. They just wanted to come to support me. And that's how it is. Even my family is online right now, and I'm sure like in the comments saying, go girl, and stuff like that. So they're always there to remind me that you're a badass, so like, don't allow anybody shake you. So they constantly remind me, and they keep on showing me my progress, that you started here. And then when I look back at the work I was doing 3 years ago and what I'm doing now, I can see the difference. Like nobody needs to tell me that, you're bad. I know I'm bad, you get, like I know that. I know I'm bad. And another something I even tell my team, I make my team feel like they're on top of the world. Nobody can shake them. So when they walk on set, nobody can talk to them anyhow. They'll give it to you back because they know. So I try as much as possible to also uplift my team. The same energy I have, I try to pass it down. Anytime I learn something new, when I go back, because even till now I'm learning. Last week I wrapped up another course in production design. I'm always doing a course or two because I feel like the industry is changing, it's transforming. A lot of things are happening. When COVID hit and our industry kind of changed, a lot of international platforms started collaborating with local talents. Like you see BET, YouTube, Jimmy Fallon, Color Studio, locally producing content here in Nigeria. Or artists that feature, like global artists that feature Nigerian talents, like Beyonce, Black is King, featuring Wizkid. And Meji Alabi, that's a Nigerian director, is shooting Wizkid's scene in Nigeria. That never used to happen, but COVID made that reality possible. And we needed to make sure that we were ready. skillfully and mentally to take up that challenge. And we were. And our portfolio now, we have so many international platforms that I can't even remember. Like, you're working back to back and you're like, sometimes you take a break and you're like, whoa, is this me? But you keep on going. And that's what I just want to tell you guys today. That every single thing I did along the way, you know, studying journalism, that I'm doing nothing about this right now, organizing events, starting businesses and stuff, every single thing I did kind of prepared me for this moment. It prepared me to be a good leader, good with research, good with planning, logistics, and strategy. And that is what makes me good at what I do. Not just my creative ideas, because that's what, we all have ideas, right? But then what do you do about them? You listen to a song and you can think of it visually, but do you do anything about it? Maybe not, maybe you do. But one thing you need to do is, if this is something, if I'm able to sell production design to you guys, I hope I have, and you think that you want to venture into this thing, you can hit me up. First of all, like, I love taking new people, training people, because I feel like the industry is growing. Afrobeat is taking over the world. We're seeing music videos like Bandana. People are raving about Bandana. You're seeing Fireboy on top of a floating car. That's production design. You're seeing a church in the middle of nowhere. That's production design. Or black goats coming out of the church. That's production design. So production design is there, but then we don't pay attention to these things because we're selling it so well. And when we're doing it, and a mentor of mine, he's actually South African production designer, told me that if you're waiting for somebody to compliment your work, it means that you're doing a bad job. How you know you're doing well is when somebody watches a visual and they forget that it's a new reality. They're almost roped into this. You're watching Avengers or you're watching a sci-fi film and you have forgotten it's sci-fi. You believe that is this person's home. This is this world. I am in this world. That is production design. And yeah, I hope, as I said, I'm able to sell this thing to you guys. And yeah. So that's it for now.
Thank you very much, Anita. That was beautiful. That was inspiring. Another round of applause, please.
So, Anita, one of your friends actually said we must give you a hug on their behalf for pulling through with this word. Thanks. And it's amazing. And you should be heard more, actually.
Do we have any? Just one question, please. We're trying to be mindful of time. I'm sorry, honey, but he came up first.
Hi, Anita. Paul here. So you mentioned at the beginning that you used to be a 9-to-5er. When did you know it was time to go?
So honestly, I get bored easily, right? I was doing a 9-to-5. I was in marketing, and I'm not trying to blow my own whistle, but I know I was good. I was very good. And you get to do really big projects, and they're telling you that, Anita, well done. You were able to get this company XYZ amount of this, downloads it. And I knew that, okay, what's next? So I kept on looking for something more, right? And at some point I told myself, you know what, maybe I need to go back to school, which I actually did. I think I forgot to mention this. I went and I pursued a master's in marketing while I was doing all of these things, and it was really challenging. And that was my excuse to leave my 9-to-5. I needed to go back to school. I thought I needed to go back to school because I felt like, what else is there for me? Nothing. Maybe I need to go back to school, meet people. It wasn't really about what I could learn in school, but it was more about the networking opportunities, right? And that free time I would have to also rediscover myself. Because as we're growing, I don't think we can ever stop discovering who we really are. My mom is still doing that till now, and she's my biggest inspiration. She's my icon, right? And she's still discovering herself. Like, my mom can wake up tomorrow and say, I want to open a restaurant because I like cooking, and everybody will support her. Then she can wake up another morning, I think I don't want to do that. And then I realized that we're all the same. Like, it doesn't stop, right? And I always want to be happy. Forget the money. I want to be happy. And I knew that I wasn't happy. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I wasn't inspired to go to work anymore. I loved marketing, but then it wasn't enough. I wanted more. And I knew that this is not where I'm going to find this happiness. I needed to step back. And as I said, that was really just an opening. Dami was like, thank God, he entered it straight. Come and do treatments for me. And I was like, okay, a new challenge. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I wouldn't, but I tried it. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't have continued it, right? So that's basically how I was able to make that transition.
Thank you so much, Anita. Thank you. All right, guys, on to the next speaker. Another amazing lady. You all know her because she's a tech influencer. She has built an audience in Nigeria as the most popular Nigerian female blogger in the field of technology and software. Please, please give it up for Miss Techie.
Okay, should I sit down or not? Okay, let me just stand. I don't have a presentation. So the topic today is tech, myself, and I. And one of the popular questions a lot of people ask me is, why tech? Okay, why tech? And the answer to that question is why not, right? I studied banking and finance in school, Covenant University. But before getting into Covenant University, I've always had a flair for tech. Like, my brother and I used to compete. Who remembers Mavis Beacon? Typing software that year? Yeah! So my brother and I, we used to compete that year to, be the fastest typist and all of that. And that was one of the ways that I got into tech, unknowingly, right? Because then I'll go to the internet. I think it was dial-up that we had then. I'd go to the internet to search for how to type faster than him. All of that processes led me to have knowledge. So I didn't really go to school to study anything tech. It was just my self-discovery that led to the path that I'm currently on. And so I got to Covenant University and it continued. I started doing research on tech, and my friends would come and say, Toby, my laptop is having issues. And I'll just go on Google, search for it, and see the problem, and see the solution, and fix it. And I started collecting 500 naira after then, because I'm like, okay, these people don't know how to use Google. Let me use Google and help them fix their situation. And so it started on, and then it led to when I started working as a digital strategist at an agency. And I realized that, oh my God, these people are actually doing, like, I realized that there's a whole world, like tech influencing world out there. And I thought about doing it, right? And that's how I started. And that's how I became Miss Techie. But one thing that I've come to realize, especially through my journey, is I did not go through to a part where everybody was going through, right? And I'm not saying this because I'm a female, because I don't even consider myself to be a female in the grand scheme of things. I consider myself to be a human being first, right? But the reason why I said that is because I looked at what people were doing then in the tech space, right? I'm the type of person that will go on Mashable, go on The Verge. I have notifications turned on. I read a lot of articles. Anytime a news story is up about a phone, I'm the first to know about it and all of that. But one thing I noticed with their articles is that if you're not a tech person, you most likely will not be interested in it, right? Because it's a lot of tech jargons, So someone like my uncle, for example, will probably be like, Lele, do you understand? I probably not want to read further. Or someone even who is a Gen Z that's not really interested in tech might not really want to, read further. And so I thought about creating something that would appeal to everybody. And to a large extent, because I kind of did my survey, especially in the Nigerian space, there was nobody. So I started making tech blogs. So I started off as a tech blogger, and I started writing articles. But the unique thing that I brought to the table, because I knew that I was not going to do something that everybody else was doing, right? So the unique thing I brought to the table was using memes and GIFs, right? And so if I write an article, then I'll try to dilute it so that you just see GIFs, you see memes, you think, oh, this is a fun article, this is like a Zikoko article. Then Zikoko was not even very popular. No, I don't think they had started then, right? So I did like a Zikoko, but for tech, right? I'm trying to paint the picture so that you can get it, right? And so everybody, not everybody, but a number of people liked it. And after like 4 months of starting that, a brand reached out to me and offered me my first paid job or whatever, 10,000 naira back then, but it was a lot of money. Oh my God! Imagine something you just did out of passion, and then a brand is recognizing that. And I had to go back to the drawing board and question myself: why did this brand reach out to me? Is it because of the engagement I had on the platform? Is it because I'm a female, right? And it actually, I got the answer because I realized then that it was because I was doing something that was different. Right? And because I was doing something that was different, a lot of people gravitated towards that, right? And that has been my motto to a large extent on my tech journey, right? So after transitioning from blogging, I realized that no money in blogging anymore, right? And video was a new oil. I jumped onto video making, and that was also the motto I used, right? doing something, going on a path that nobody's going, right? And creating or making a trail out of that path. So for videos, that's what I did too. I mean, it's easy to sit down in front of the camera and just talk and say, okay, hey guys, Mr. K, yeah, this is a brand new mic, this is a brand new TV and all of that, and say all of that. But what can I do? What can I add to this thing that can make me stand out from others, right? What can I do that can make people say, oh, top of mind awareness? When they think about tech, they can think about me in that light. And VFX was the next thing. I saw one VFX video from Zach King and it blew my socks off. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what is this? And so I started going on YouTube to research how to create VFX videos and tie it back to tech. And I created my first video for Google back then. I did very, very summer video, to be very honest. I did one video where, okay, so Google sent me a box. It was their creativity something day, I can't remember. So they sent me a box that had like pepper. We were supposed to make a soup. And so I did a video where the box exploded in the air and I started tapping on stuff and all of that. And that video did so well. And the guys from Google actually sent me a message that, wow, they've never seen a video like that in that light. And it just really inspired that motto that I've adapted to myself, right? Doing something that no one else is doing, or bringing your own uniqueness to whatever everybody's doing. So regardless of the niche you might find yourself in, and this is for tech, right? It could be fashion. And that's even the funny thing about the content marketing space or the content space that we have today. I feel that there are so many things that a lot of people have not really explored, right? Everybody's just gravitating towards fashion. Everybody's gravitating towards skit. Everybody's gravitating towards what they think is popular. But there's so many unexplored niche markets that nobody's doing yet. And because they're not looking at the bigger picture or because they are too scared to start. They just want to go for what is popular and, join everybody. But the truth is, if you want to stand out, especially in the space that I'm in, and I think this even cuts across even my space, right? You need to be able to bring something unique to the table. You need to be able to say, okay, you know what, this is something I'm doing differently. This is my own spin that I'm adding to this thing. It could be a document, it could be a script, it could be something you're writing. This is something that if they read this thing, they know that, no, this is Toby now, this is Toby's work, because they can see the unique angle to it, right? So I feel that that's one of the reasons why, to a large extent, I've been able to stand out in the space that I'm in. Right now, I no longer even do VFX videos as much as before, because I had to evolve. And that's another thing that I've noticed with creators, yeah? The ability to not just fix yourself on one position and say, okay, you know what, this is the hill I'm willing to die on. The ability to be able to evolve to other things, right? And if you can even see with skit makers, Mr. Macaroni, Lasisi. Remember Lasisi used to do one skit, something just happened right now. He realized that he couldn't, if he had continued with something just happened right now, I'm sure everybody would move on to the next thing, right? Because we've gotten over that. So he needed to evolve, which is why he brought in different characters, right? And that's one thing I've come to realize with creative people. The fact is, that's like what Dimeji said, amazing session. I wrote that, God, when will I be like Dimeji? But one of the things that he mentioned is, yes, we can do pretty much everything there's internet. I like to think that there's nothing that I cannot do as far as there's internet. Like if someone should reach out to me today, I know how to code, but I'm not really, I did not develop my skills in that regard. But if someone were to reach out to me today to say, you know what, Toby, I need you to build an app, I'll do it. As far as there's internet, though, I'll figure out myself, right? So the fact is, I feel as creatives, we tend to, we feel that we can do everything, right? We feel that we can maybe act. If a brand comes to meet me now and say, Toby, you know what, be a grandmama, of course, if the money is good, I would do that, right? Naturally, I don't know how to act, but for the right money, I would do that, yeah? But the point I'm trying to make is the ability to bring your unique side to things is what sets you apart from everybody. And this is based on my own track record. I am sure if I had done what everybody else was doing at that time as a tech writer then, if I was writing tech stories in the way that they all wrote it, I'm sure nobody would give any, like, why would I care about a girl that is writing tech, that The Verge, I can read on The Verge, I can even read it in very good English, like, what do you have, right? But I needed to be able to bring my own spin to it, right? And that had to do with blogging, and it's currently what I'm doing with my videos also, right? So I'm, because when they say take myself on, I'm like, okay, so am I supposed to talk about myself? But yeah, I think that is pretty much my standpoint on all of this. It's so easy for us to transition into different things. But in your transitioning, try to add your own spice. Try to add your own uniqueness. Don't do what everybody's doing. There's a particular quote that is coming to mind that someone told me, do not go where the path might lead. Instead, go where there's no path and make a trail. And that is actually very, very key, yeah? Because a lot of us like, follow the bandwagon, do what everybody else is doing. Tech is the new oil. Myself, make I put my head. Do you get? And doing what everybody's doing. I mean, if we're all learning, trying to be a web developer, we now have 20 million web developers in the country. Is there only 1 or 10 web developers a company will say, last? Like, what is setting you apart as a web developer? Yes, tech is the new oil money or whatever, but it's not about just learning a tech skill. It's about finding a way to apply that tech skill in a way that has never been done in Nigeria. Because last, there's no new idea. Last. Do you get? So, like I said for myself, yeah, when I transitioned into VFX or videos, I looked at VFX and I'm like, oh, wow, I could take this and adapt it into my video making to make me stand out, which is what I did. But guess what? Zach King, Kelvin, I've forgotten his handle, but Zach King, Kelvin, and a bunch of others, every time they post a video, I always turn on to post notification. If they post a video on their timeline, I look at the video, okay, how can I adapt this to the Nigerian market, right? It's if you look at it from the grand scheme of things, it's not a new idea, but in Nigerian, it is, right? So in as much as I'd like to think that, okay, be unique and find unique ways of setting yourself apart, you can also try to adapt something from, I don't know if I'm getting my point across, but you can also find a way to adapt things from what other people in other locations, maybe not Nigeria, have done, and find a way to tie it back to you in your country, right? Which is another way that I was able to be relatable. So yes, doing unique things, making sure that you set yourself apart from others would actually make you relatable to a large extent. What else? Okay. I think I wrote some things down. Let me just read through. Okay, so one of the ways that I was also able to get to the point that I got to is networking, right? If you know me, I am very bad with calls, messages, anything that has to do with messages. I even like calls. I'm weird like that. I prefer calls to messages. Yes, I know, I'm weird. But anything that has to do with messages, emails, DMs, oh my goodness, you are going to kill me, right? So I'm very bad at it, right? So what I did, knowing that I was bad at it, what I did was I outsourced that part of my business to another person, right? So I got someone that was a very great networker, and then I told them, okay, this is what I want you to do. I can't do it. I can't come and kill myself. I'm only good with thinking of stuff, bringing up ideas. So you do this part while I figure out my own part, right? So that's another thing that, because when I first started my tech blog, I had a problem with that. Like, a lot of brands had a problem with me, communication and all of that. And I realized that if I continue like this, there's a big chance that even though I'm creative, even though I might be very creative in my field or in my niche, brands might not want to work with me because of that skill that I lacked, right? So the best way to fix that is to outsource, which brings me to the second point. If you can't do something, nothing is stopping you from asking somebody else to teach you. And if you can't learn it, if you feel that your brain cannot accept it, then you just outsource that part if it's possible for you to do so, right? Outsource it, and last, it's still going to be credited to you to a large extent. So because now Joy is the person in charge of communications for Miss Techie. I'm sure if I say, oh, Joy, if she's here, if I say, okay, hi, this is Joy, most likely you're not going to know her, right? Because everything is going back to, the credit is going back to Miss Techie and while she's getting paid. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you can't just do everything and say, okay, you know what, in as much as I feel I can be a coder, in as much as I feel I can be a networker, I can do everything. No. If there's a way for you to outsource it, right? And if you can, get a team, which is what I did, right? I don't know if I'm getting the point across, but pretty much that is my journey, and that's how I've been able to an extent, be relatable. Because I started this in 2015, and this is 2022, and I still reject jobs. It means that, like, I'm doing something right, yeah? So, yeah, thank you very much.
Baby, thank you so much. I think we're racing against time, but we're doing well. I hope you're getting something. But what tech is saying that I love is that it's no longer tech in the real world. It's actually the real world in tech. So the point again is that tech has become the world, and what we now live in tech. So there is an entire world of possibilities that is available. In one of what we're going to be creating, we're planning this mixer where it's a Saturday where you just come for skill exchange. If she knows this, she can teach you a hack and you can learn a hack, but we'll let you know. So we're trying to create this thing called the Bohemian Club that is going to be where we keep deepen conversations and learn. So it's really about fast-tracking our access to the creative economy, leveraging on tech. But thank you very much, Techie. We'll just do that, and after that, we can now take questions, so we can do good with the next speaker. All right.
Okay, thank you, Miss Techie. The next speaker is a fan favorite, so I'm just going to call him right up. Please, a round of applause for Salem King.
Hi everyone. I'd like to sit. Do you guys mind? Thank you. I don't think it's fair that I'm speaking after all these people that make you feel like, what am I doing in my life? So I'm just going to tell my story. I don't think there's much I can teach you after everything they've said. So I'm just going to tell my story, and I believe that you guys are going to get something out of it. Yeah? So my name is Salem King. I'm a content creator. I'm still trying to get used to saying it. I'm still trying to body it, because I still get the occasional, okay, you're a content creator, but like, what's your real job? You know, what do you really do? I'm like, content, I create it. That's my job. So a little background. I have a degree in economics, unfortunately. Total waste of time. I was in like year 3 when I found out that I'm not going to use this thing for anything. You know, like after econometrics, if you did economics, you know how that course slaps you. But like after school, first job I got out of school was in a real estate company. I was doing marketing. And sometime in my 3rd year of working there, I started to tinkle with content. At the time, I didn't know that Oh, okay. Why is this mic gaslighting me? Wow. Now, at the time, I didn't know it was content. I just always knew I had a passion for transferring knowledge. That's all it was. I just knew that if I was ever reading something or enjoying something, I always wanted to share with someone. You know that friend that, like, when they've been reading a particular book and you now mistakenly ask them a question related to the subject, they are just like, sit down. I've been preparing for this, you know. I was that guy. So when I started making content, it just sort of came naturally. So sometime in 2018, I made a decision that, before then I was making videos, but like I just put it on my stories, where to disappear after 24 hours. You know, my 20 or 30 friends would see it, zero commitment, you know, disappeared after 24 hours. But in 2018, I made a decision that, and I don't know where the inspiration for that came from, it was random. I just said, you know what, these videos, I'm going to put it on my page, and I want to do 30 videos in 30 days. Insane idea. At the time, Instagram, you know, gave you a limit of 1 minute, right? So at the time, I had 1,500 followers on Instagram. I said, if at the end of these 30 days of creating 30 videos, I can just go from 1,500 followers to 2K. That would be amazing. In my mind, that was like, oh, I would have blown. And in that 30-day period, my following went from 1,500 to 5,000. And I didn't even make up to 30 videos. I had to stop. Like, I only ended up making like 21, because I went from a regular Instagram user to somebody who was getting hundreds of comments on a post. And I used to respond to every single comment, right? So if you went to my post and you saw 500 comments, 250 were mine. I'm serious. And at the time, the reason why I used to respond to everybody was I just felt so grateful. Like, wow, you really took 1 minute of your time to engage with my stuff. Thank you. You know, and sometimes I would even tap on someone's profile before I responded to their comments, just so I could respond in a personal way. So like just know a little bit about them, you know, and respond in a personal way. Now, I didn't know at the time that this was a strategy for community building, right? I didn't know that I was creating connections that would grow to be permanent with people who would do anything for me, right? People I'd never met, people from countries I'd never been. And I just kept going, you know. So after that 30-day period, my account tripled, you know, my following tripled. It just made sense that people like this, you know, okay, there's more where that came from. I continued making videos. A lot of the stuff I was making content about was, you know, stuff that I'd written in my notes years before. Like, it had been in my notes for a while, right? And then all these things that I'd learned from stealing my dad's books and stuff, I was sharing them with content. So when I would make some videos sometimes and people were like, wow, I needed that, I didn't used to believe them. I'm like, doesn't everybody know this? How old are you? You know, like, that's not fresh, that's not new. But apparently, one thing I learned was that there's so many things that feel common to you, right? It's like second nature to you. So you've seen yourself finish. It's not second nature to other people, right? So that thing that you're sleeping on, that thing that you feel like is just another, I mean, there are people who to them, that's special. There are people who, to them it's groundbreaking. It's like, this is fresh, this is new, this is amazing. And you're just like, I do it every day now, right? So some months later, I kept making content. I was not making any money from it. I still had my 9 to 5. I think like 6 months later, I got an email one day from a brand. I was like, I see them, we're working on this campaign and we would like to find out how much you would charge for this. In my mind, I'm like, charge? Like, I can charge money. This thing I'm doing for free, they'll give me money. And they were going to give me 20K, and they said they wanted me to do like a couple of Instagram posts, a couple of Instagram stories, and let me not lie, like I was going to take the money. Because at that point, the only thing I had gotten as much as 20K from was salary. So the idea of getting money from something, I was just so excited. It was after I showed somebody else who had gone ahead of me, which was like 20K, I did mad, no, you know, and then she composed the new email and told me to send. So that deal didn't go through, but it sort of gave me confidence. Something just broke in my brain. Do you get, like, I can actually make money from this thing. So I started to plot my exit. Oh no, that's not the point where I started to plot my exit. Let me tell you another thing, another pivotal moment I had in my journey. So one day, I put up an Instagram post. It was just a picture of myself, a short caption. It was just 3 words. I just asked, what's bothering you? And I told you guys, like, I had a very engaged audience. Like, even when I didn't have 10K, hundreds of people used to comment on my posts. So I asked, what's bothering you? And like, I came back to the post like 30 minutes later. I'm like, who sent me? Because the kind of problems people were downloading in my comment section. I'm like, I'm a content creator now. Like, I'm not a pastor. I'm not a... You know, so I just left my phone alone. I felt overwhelmed. I'm like, me, I can't help these people, though. Everybody will be fine. I'm like, let them pour their hearts out. I'll delete the post later, you know. Then I came back like an hour 30 minutes later. Sorry, I keep looking at my watch. There's a timer. So I came back like an hour later, and something interesting has started to happen on that post. So people in the comments, people who came to look at the post, were going straight to the comments, and they would see other people's comments and respond. So one person would talk to another person and say, oh, is this what you're struggling with? Send me a DM. Oh, you live in Abuja? Let's meet for coffee on Monday. Oh, this. And like people were preferring solutions to each other in the comment section. So the worry I had about not being able to help everyone was necessary, right? And the thing I learned in that moment is that even though this community had formed around me, it was not about me. And it was the first time I learned that community is a survival need. It's not just this thing that is nice to have, like every business is now, we want to build a community around our brand. It's nice to have, but it's not just this thing that's nice to have. Have you guys ever heard about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Anybody? The first thing that's most important, food and water, physiological needs. Second thing, safety needs. What's the third? Love and a sense of belonging. That's community. It's important. As long as humanity has existed, we needed to exist in community, in tribes, to protect ourselves from the wild and all that. Now, all of that has transitioned to the online world. So everyone who's out in this digital space, we have a responsibility of community. You have a responsibility to build communities. You have a responsibility to join communities and be valuable in those communities that you join. So that sort of shifted my entire mindset around, content creation, influencer partnerships, just basically using social media and, the responsibility. So, people say, I'm responsible for what I say, I'm not responsible for what you understand, stuff like that. If you have any form of influence on social media, you can't be saying stuff like that, right? You have to be conscious of what you're putting out. So that just made me really grateful, for what I do. Another turning point I had in my journey was I was still working my 9 to 5, and I had so many people all the time asking me, how do you make your videos? How are you able to say so much within a really short time? Show us, blah, 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 blah. Me, I was afraid to show anybody anything because I'm like, what if I teach you and you don't get it? What will happen to your money? So I did a free class. People thought I did a free class because I was kind. I wasn't kind, I was scared. So I did a free class. And the free class gave me the opportunity to validate my idea. So it was sort of me saying, can this thing actually work in the real world? Like this thing that I do that comes naturally to me, can I teach people in a systematic way that allows them to replicate my results? And I found out that they could, right? I mean, of course, to the extent that it was predictable, So when I saw the results people had, so many people attended my class, people that were lifestyle creators, travel creators, fashion, different kinds of creators attended my class, and I saw the results they had. So I'm like, 5K, next one. I put a price on it. I was more confident to put a price. And I'm almost out of time. And that first time I did a class, I wanted 50 people. It was 5,000 naira. I wanted 50 people. So I did a class, and in less than 24 hours, 50 people had signed up. And I didn't post this on my page, I posted it on my stories, like Instagram stories that disappears after 24 hours. Even till now, I still sell digital products through my stories. So when I say I'm a content creator and my full-time job, like, I'm not broke. So I did that through my stories. No, I'm not rich either, don't clap. Before you corner me outside now. So I had that, I did that class, made it was 250K, 50 people. And there were more people who were sending messages like, yo, I missed the cut, I want to join, I want to join, I want to join, I want to join. So I created a second group and 50 filled up again, right, in like a 48-hour period. Now, after I made, that was like 500K. Now, I told you I had a 9 to 5 at the time. That 500K was like 6 months of my salary. So that was the sign from God. Did you get that? Okay, let's start plotting our escape. And, that was the first, thankfully we've made several other 500Ks. Because that one I blew it. Like, it was just like, wow, I'm rich. Let's buy Benz. It's how it felt at the time. But yeah, the first time I ever did a social media ad, a sponsored ad, was this year. My ebook, I wrote an ebook about community, sold 700 copies in the first year, no sponsored ads. Organic, my community buying from me, right? So even though community is human, community can also be commercial, right? So let's think about both sides of it. If you'd like to learn more about me, follow me at Salem Kinging. I only have a few minutes, can't do a whole course here. Thank you for listening to me.
Salem, well done. Okay, I know we were moving very quickly, but he did well with time. So we can take a question and move on very quickly. You've asked before. Can we still take her? But if there's no other hand, we might come to her. Or anybody else? Okay, Salem is still in the house. You have a conversation with Salem, and it might be a bit more intimate. Salem. No, nobody should corner him.
He's not going.
All right. Kosi, we're on to the next year.
Hi, everyone. Okay, before we call out the next person, I would like everyone who's enjoying themselves. If you're having a great time, please share. Lovely. So please go use the hashtag Festival of Ideas 2022. So let's get the word out there. Also, tweet about it, post it on your story, and tag us at We Are Ida Studios. At We Are Ida Studios. Okay. So now to call on the next speaker. She's very pretty. I'm just going to tell you right now. So she's a woman who moved from fashion to tech, one of the youngest Nigerian models who pioneered the scenes of independent modeling. So please give a round of applause to Ifeoma Wubu. Told you she was stunning.
Hi everyone, good evening. I know this is not a religious gathering, but if you really want to get the best of me, please permit me to pray before I go on. Okay, so Father, we thank you. Your people are here. Some have come to learn, some have come to pour into others, some have come to just validate those ideas that have been on their hearts through these conversations. So we just pray that you meet each and every single person at the point of their needs. And for myself, I pray that for every word that proceeds from my mouth is exactly what you want your people to hear, in Jesus' name. Thank you. All right. Sorry, I'm Gen Z, but I don't do slides. I prefer like writing down stuff here in my notes because it just makes it feel more personal. All right. So the first thing I want to just point out is that we all go through seasons of transitions or evolutions, be it like career-wise. I know there's been a lot of like speaking about career, but just generally in life, we go from being students to workers, from being singles to married, from being just people to parents, right? So we all go through those points of transition. And the first thing that came to my mind when I was invited to speak here was like, why me? My story is still unfolding, right? So why am I being called? I'm not famous yet. But then I had moments of introspection and I said, you know what, there's something in this story that Mr. Fedi and his team, know about and they think it's worth sharing. So I'm very honored to sit in front of like everyone here and just speak. So I'm Ifeoma Wubu. I'm 22 years old. I have never given this information out in public before, but it sets a good precedent for the story I'm about to tell. I'm currently the co-founder of SendStack. We're a mobility company. We're helping businesses or more people participate in the internet economy by simplifying the process of deliveries for their businesses, and we're obviously doing this through technology. So I'm privileged to be spearheading growth of SendStack. And unfortunately, that is not the touch point of this story, but if you are an investor, low-key, if you have money somewhere, please hit me up on LinkedIn. And yeah. All right, so the journey so far, I started modeling in 2015. I started when I was about 15, 16 years old. And how we started was just through a simple Instagram DM. I was crazy enough to just DM the manager of one of the biggest scouting modeling agencies now in Africa, right? And I just told her, oh, how far? Like, I want to do this thing that I see you doing with other people. And then she invited me to her office. But my sister then, at the time, she put in a word for me. So very important. I had someone who put in a word for me because she was then working at like one of these fashion TV stations then. So I leveraged that. So I went for an appointment. I got signed. After 1 year, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of being with an agency. I didn't feel like I was getting enough of what I wanted. And so I decided to just break out and do it myself. And right, so I was self-managed for the time being, like got all the campaigns, all the lookbooks, all the things that I did. Just me, crazy small babe, just like going for castings, auditions, always putting my ear on the ground, knowing what was happening, right? And that was how I was able to not just do modeling, but build social currency out of doing that, because it's very important to remain visible. You can be doing your thing, but like no one will know that you're doing that. So I was doing that and making sure that, oh, even if this thing doesn't seem like a big deal to me, I'm sharing it and I'm blowing it up like it's a big deal, because you never just know, right? I think it was in 2020 during the lockdown, I just got tired and I was like, okay, this thing has been working fine, but now I need to think of ways to build wealth for myself, for my family, and I just knew it wasn't modeling. And it's funny because like a lot of people, for them, the next stage for me was going international. Whereas I knew that the next stage of growth was actually stopping or putting a pause on that thing, which is ironic, right? So lockdown year, I started to make a lot of friends in tech, just unknowingly. They used to code, and me, I was like, oh, UI, UX. I thought, like before then, I just thought UI meant University of Ibadan, and UX meant, I don't know, something else, right? I never really bothered or tried to find out what that was until that point where everyone was sitting still. Nobody cared about what was happening. We're all just looking out for ourselves, right? So that was the turning point for me. So I started learning how to code. I started learning how to, like do front-end design and all of that. But funny enough, that was not even what got me into the space. It was now something else as random as agreeing to be a guest speaker on a Zikoko live show. Right? They had this speed dating show they were doing during the lockdown. And me, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be desperate. I'm not looking for a boyfriend. If I agree to do this thing now, they will say that, oh, she's looking for a man online. But I agreed to do it because I just felt led. I was like, oh, you never know. So what I actually did was, behind the scenes, I rallied my friends. I was like, see, guys, I'm not looking for a man, but come on this live show and let's talk. Like, let's act like we don't know each other and let's talk. And that was where literally my now co-founder saw me, and he was like, he sent me an email after, and it was like, oh, I really like the way you interacted with those guys on the live thing. I think you can do growth and market the product I'm building very well, right? And he sent me that email. And after like hesitating for some time, because I did have a lot of self-doubt, the thing about imposter syndrome, it didn't like disappear. I had imposter syndrome. I was like, I have never led a growth team. I have never marketed any other thing or person but myself. But someone else saw this conversation and thought I could do it. So I jumped on that. And then 3 months after, I joined just as a regular employee, by the way. 3 months after seeing all the work I had done, I said, bro, how far? I want to become co-founder. I want equity. I want to have a stake in this. I want to own this, right? Because the plan or the goal I had, it was to build wealth. So that's another point. Like, you can't build wealth sometimes just by, any salary. You have to find ways or find things to plug yourself in, become a major stakeholder in those things. And even if you're not actively working in those places or on those things, you know that, oh, maybe you're doing advisory for a startup because you're a brand strategist. And even if you have your 9 to 5, this is something that you help out within your own spare time, right? So I took on, the results or what I had done in 3 months were very undeniable, and obviously he didn't refuse. So that was how I became co-founder. So that's where we are currently at. The story is obviously like still unfolding. There's so much, to come, but I have just a few key points on the story and the journey so far. The first thing is leverage relationships. If not for my sister, if not for just like the social currency I built, just people, oh, I like you, you're a fine girl, you're a model, you can dress, we trust you, just literally by being yourself. So leverage relationships and leverage the power of being yourself. Like Sela mentioned, there are some things that might seem just really ordinary to you, but you never know how just like posting a bomb-ass selfie of yourself encourages someone else to feel, you know, like they're most beautiful, right? So leverage that, be visible. I know that imposter syndrome is hard to overcome, but please talk about what you do. Maybe not do it like prematurely. It's not that, oh, you started something and then you position yourself as an expert, but please be visible, even in your learning process. Even if you don't understand what you're doing completely, there is at least one or two parts of that thing that you're doing that you probably know more than anyone else. So please be visible as you grow. Because if you fall into that trap where you think, oh, by the time I'm CEO, I would have known that. I'm seeing that is actually the opposite. Because by the time you're in a company and then you have a board of directors, they don't just go for your work ability. They go for, oh, does this person have the charisma to carry this thing more than, you know, the next person? So please remain visible, especially women. And I know why I'm like emphasizing on that, because we have tendencies to feel, oh, I'm just helping out. Oh, it's not a big deal. If someone tells you something, own it, say thank you and move on. Don't feel the need to say it's nothing, it doesn't mean anything, right? And then this other very important one is be discerning of times and seasons that you need to transition. Someone asked a question earlier that how did Anita know that she was supposed to go from 9 to 5 to what she currently does? And the answer is within yourself. You just have that gut feeling. I think the moment you start having those thoughts and start having those ideas, you probably want to investigate further and not just ignore it. So, like discerning times and seasons, even for things like, oh, when is it time to get married? When is it time to have children? When is it time to start a business? You know, like if you miss the key timing for those things, you might still get them in the future, but it might be more of a struggle if you miss the set time for that particular thing. And the next thing is, don't be afraid to ask for what you deserve. And this one too is in it. You know what you deserve at every point in time. If you feel like you deserve a promotion, like, and I'll tell you for free as an employer, it's mind games sometimes. Some people know when someone deserves a promotion, but they won't come and tell you. They're waiting for you to ask. Everything is almost a negotiation in the world of like business. So ask for what you deserve and properly set the metrics or KPIs that you're using to ask. Don't ask based on emotions like, oh, I'm angry and I'm upset because someone else that is new came in and got it. Clearly state out what you've done, the results you've achieved, and why you think you're in the best position to get that thing. And more often than not, you would actually receive. Even the Bible confirms that in Matthew 7:7. And the last but not the least is, for me, commit your ways to God. I am the major executor in my life story, but I'm not the planner. More often than not, I don't know what the next day is going to be. I don't know what the next stage or phase, even where I am now, I consider it a phase. I'm not going to be co-founder of SendStack for the rest of my life. So be the executor, but don't hold on too tightly to the little details. Just live lightly, right? Commit your ways unto God. Trust that He will help you, and I promise you, you will just be gliding and enjoying life, you know, like never before. So thank you guys so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much. Please celebrate Ife. We'll take more questions. We'll be out of here in 30 minutes. We have Tunde, I looked for you when you stepped out for a bit, but thanks. We'll take, I know we've not asked Ife questions and Miss Teki. So what we will do is we'll quickly, once we run through Chike and Tunde, we'll quickly do the interaction and then give them the gifts that we have. Please, thank you, Ife. One of the reasons why Ife was very important to me was I've always known Ife as a model, and then suddenly I started seeing the tech part of her, right? And that transition was very quick, right? But good enough we know the story. Never be afraid to step up to the table, right? Now, in the last 10 years, guys, we have had an incessant attack in one particular sector in Nigeria, which is the fintech space. Literally, everyone wanted to solve a fintech problem. Everybody has 1,000 ways to buy and pay. And it is pay this, pay that, pay this, pay that. But in the last decade, we've seen the emergence of at least 3 unicorns. You might have your arguments, but I can tell you that debatably yes, arguably yes, but there are 3 unicorns, right? There's InterSwitch, there's Flutterwave, and there's SpaceTax. So celebrate that, right? Now, if you've built before, if you've built in Nigeria, you will understand that it is not beans. You get, so we might have our differences on all the things that are going on, but I want you to really appreciate that. But just the way we've unlocked 3 unicorn in only fintech, because some people just saw it and stayed there is still just as much potential in education. So we want to see what edutech can unlock for us, right? I remember when we started animation, we couldn't quite, I was shocked. I was almost slipping into crisis in my head when I just realized we didn't have animators. We were looking for as much as 50, 200, and we would go through portfolios and portfolios, you won't find anything. And it was very frustrating because I actually thought they were people. And I was telling investors, they're people. I actually thought they were people, and I realized that you can draw an art doesn't make you an animator. There is a process that you must go through. And at some point, we turned that crisis into an opportunity. And I think sometime next year, we're launching a platform that can take training. Like you can go and plug in and train. When you're ready, see job. When you're ready, you see job. Now, we did not let that problem stop us. We turned it into an opportunity. And I think that's what this is for us. Every opportunity, every problem is a potential opportunity. In e-commerce, people are talking about we lose 70% of what we produce in terms of food from the north to the south. Is it 70% or 30%? One of those numbers. But it's a ridiculously high number, right? From edutech to entertainment tech, there are potential opportunities. I feel that this is a zeitgeist. There is what we call the spirit of the times, a time when everybody is now thinking of a startup. The next people we're bringing are 2 people that I have the privilege to work with. And they've been very, I've seen them grow, and they've even stepped up to the table to say, okay, we have a crisis yet again. We don't have enough female in the industry. You can see 100 applications, only 2 women, right? And you're saying, but art is not unique to men. Art has no gender, the last time I checked. Animation has no gender. You could be an animator wherever you are. And we have seen amazing people like Awili doing an amazing stuff and the rest. But the 2 people we're going to introduce to you are helping us drive and co-found what will become like a platform, an opportunity for women to come on the space. As a studio, we remain committed that if you are a woman and you're serious, you have a job. The rest, we can figure it out. Just show up and you are serious. Be serious, so that serious part is important because sometimes this thing is hard. After like 6 months, 3 months, the father will just call like, this is not the plan. You understand? So, Kosi, please do me honors to introduce the next people. Then we have Tunde and Chike, and we'll call it an evening. And then we'll do some interaction, Q&A, and then we'll go on to network.
Okay, thank you, Freddie. Up next, we have a quick talk. And I'd like to introduce Ola Torera Alonge and Tolu Aroyehun, who are going to talk about African women in animation and art. Joining them is Eden.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Okay. So we're here to have a conversation about Afua. All right, but before we get into it, can you tell us about yourself? A little bit about yourself. Sorry. So, hello everyone. My name is Tolu. My name is Tolu. I'm an animator, background designer. What else do I do? Illustrator, mini 3D animation enthusiast. I'm kind of getting into that, but not quite there yet. But yes, I've been doing this for about 3 years, and sorry if I seem a bit nervous. You guys are really pretty, so it's distracting me. So it's all good, but yeah, I've been doing this for about 3 to 4 years. I've been working with Freddie and Chekubi for a bit now. I think they're like my dads in animation at this point. They've been really supportive, and I kind of like, I owe a lot of like my self-development, especially in animation, to them. So I just want to say, oh, thank you as well. Thank you very much. And yeah, I've been animating literally, drawing, sorry, my whole life, I would say. And then, sheesh, okay. I've been drawing my whole life. So it kind of, animation just seemed like the, should I say, organic way for me to grow as an individual and everything. So I've been doing that for quite some time. I do cutouts. Sorry, I don't know if any of you know what cutout animation is, but that's kind of like a thing I do. But yes, yeah, that's me.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. All right.
Hi everyone. My name is Storera, and I'm a digital artist and a 2D animator. I started drawing in 2018. It was just, I saw a drawing on Instagram and I just told myself, I think I can do this. Then fast forward to 2019, I worked in a digital agency for 6 months. I did my training as a graphic designer. I thought that was what I wanted, but I was just tired of it. And I started researching on animation studios in Lagos. There was a particular animation I saw, and I was just intrigued as to how, a lot of people can be so patient to move the pupils and just little things in the body. And so I saw a magic carpet, and then I sent a message, and then I got interviewed by Chex, our arts director. And so that's how I started my training program at Magic Carpet. It has been really, really interesting, challenging, but if you are passionate about it, you put in the work regardless. So that's where I am right now. Thank you.
All right, that's so beautiful. It's so nice to meet you. So we all know that Ida is actually a brainchild of Imaginarium, and we love to give room for, growth, storytelling, and just to, discover more. So I don't want to say too much. Can you tell us a bit about AFWA?
Okay, so AFWA basically stands for African Women in Arts and Animation. I know the purpose of AFWA is just to, bring more women in that industry, in the animation and arts industry, people that are not really there, because we know that we don't really have a lot of women in that space. So we want to empower more women in that space. We want to, we're going to be having mentorship programs. We're going to be having trainings and specialization workshops. That's what basically AFWA is all about, empowering more women in the art and animation space. And okay, so it started as an initiative. I remember it started as an initiative in 2019 by the founders of Magic Carpet, but now we see it as our responsibility to to just make it an we see it as more important in this space, so we want to spearhead that organization. So that's what AFWA is all about. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so this question is directed to Tolu. All right. So we know that there are a lot of women right now, looking to join this movement. How is it possible for them to, get on that journey, basically? How can they join the AFWA movement?
Oh, okay. How can they join? Goodness. All right. I think I'll just drop a tiny fact. I think during, in the golden ages of, animation, women were more it was more like a workforce. Like Walt Disney would hire women and they would just get menial jobs, not saying that coloring is a menial job, but they would color the frames and everything. It wasn't a major role. But I think with AFWA, what we were trying to push is just putting women in a situation where you have more say. You can tell your stories, you have control of your stories, and there's so many facets of animation that women can get into. I feel like people have this notion that animation is just, oh my gosh, you can draw. So obviously you can animate, but animation has so many, to do 3D animation, you don't necessarily have to even know how to draw. You just need to understand the technical aspects of everything. So with AFWA, I just want to just put it out there for women that there's so much for you to explore within this field. They're different, there's stories, there's story departments. You can literally just be about stories. You can script, you can do lighting. There's so many opportunities for you in this in this sphere. So what we want to do is like have like opportunities for you to like ask those questions. Like everyone's very confused about animation, and I feel like animation is such a male-dominated field. Like even internationally, animation isn't something that women are very commonly found in. So I feel with Afua, what we would like to do is to like have events, have talks, just like opportunities for women to connect and just like have this knowledge that seems so hard to find. Because I remember when I was learning animation, it was such a strange thing. Like YouTube videos don't seem like they're enough. They seem like they will be enough, but just being able to like interact with people that are actually in the field is going to make a massive difference. Like I know the kind of difference it made in my work when I was doing it alone versus when I got like into the company and I was able to talk to people that have been doing this for years. So I feel like with AFWA, what we want to do is just create that community for women to ask those questions, to pitch those ideas. And we're going to do that through just various events, various internships and everything for them to attend.
Thank you, thank you. So we're so honored here to have you talk about AFWA. It was an amazing conversation. So we're just going to throw it to the crowd right now. If you have a question concerning AFWA. So we'll take 2 questions. Okay. So we'll meet at the stand. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, ladies. That was beautiful. All right, we're almost at the end of this event, and we have 2 speakers left. Allow me to introduce another amazing person, and he's another fan favorite. You all have heard of Chess in the Slums, so I don't think it needs that much of an introduction. But please, a round of applause to Tunde Onakoya, who is here to take us on the topic, Checkmate, the Chess Way Out.
Hello, everyone. I have an obligation before I share my story. Please, let's give my wonderful baby a round of applause. Because, obviously because she's very pretty, but more importantly because she's wearing purple and triangle purple shoes too. So let's give her a round of applause again. Okay, so she came here to support me today, and the topic is checkmate, a chess way out. But when I got here, I just thought I should share something different. So this is the topic, quite alright, but I'll just give you guys the subtopic, which is creating a future that includes all of us. And I'll share a couple of stories. I'll share my story. I'll share the stories of some children, and I'll try to see how we can link that to your own journey too, so you find this meaningful. My name is Tunde Onakoya. I'm the convener of Chess in Slums Africa. I'm a full-time chess coach and a part-time era boy. So that's why I'm wearing this cap. Of course, most of you know that story already. So a little backstory. I grew up in Ikorodu. Who else grew up? Oh, good. Trenches. Always representing. So I grew up in a place called Iselodo in Ikorodu. And it was a place where we're just confined in this place, and my understanding of the world was limited to those confines. And something happened, and it changed, my understanding of how the world worked. So as a young child, we grew up, growing up was very difficult because we grew up in the trenches, like the real sense of it. And, my parents struggled a lot to give us education, but at some point, they just couldn't keep doing it. So after my primary 6 education school, I dropped out and I had to stay home for 2 years. And in those 2 years, I was just always at home doing nothing. They wanted me to learn how to fix refrigerator. And I I protested, but eventually I had to do it. So I started learning how to fix, refrigerator at a really young age. I got to learn how to do a lot of things at a really young age. Play the piano, play the guitar, all of these things. But then I found something, chess. So then we used to go to this barber's shop to play video games, PS1. It's gambling actually. They used to call it Awilo then. So, I never played because I didn't have money, but I would always just watch them. So one of those days, the barber just brought out a small plastic chess set. And that was the first time I ever saw a chessboard. I think I was 11 years old at the time. And, I was fascinated by the way the pieces were carved. And because I was a very curious child, I wanted to know what the pieces were. And he told me that I was too young to learn and I should just watch. That it was a very complex game. But for me, it was love at first sight. And I just kept asking, oh, teach me. But then he wouldn't teach, so I would just watch. Then after a while, I just picked up the rules of the game by watching them. And that was how I found the gift of chess. At the time, I didn't know it, but, it became the most important discovery, of my life. And eventually I got back into school. My mom had to make a sacrifice for me. And, fortunately, the school I attended had chess as a subject. We wrote exams at the end of every term. And I went to school, and my coach told me I was gifted. And that changed something for me. It gave me an identity. And that's the first thing I would like to talk about, identity. Now, for a child from the slums of Ikorodu who didn't really know anything, it was important to me that I was good at something. And that was chess. And I was good at it. And my coach would tell me that, oh, chess is a game for very intelligent people. And if you played it, it would make you smart. And I remember when I got back into secondary school, I couldn't really speak English, right? And this was because, at home we always spoke Yoruba, and the primary school I went to was a Pako school. But when I got into secondary school, I was with, Boti kids, and I was always afraid to say anything because I didn't want to make. And they would now say, oh, Tunde are stubborn, and everyone would start laughing. So I was always very quiet. But I found confidence in doing something that gave me an identity, and it was chess. And I won a tournament sometime in GSS2, and I came home with a trophy. And I saw my dad cry for the first time because he was really proud of his son. And for me then, it just made me believe that if I was good at chess, at this game that my coach told me was for smart people, then I could become anything I wanted in the world. So it didn't just give me an identity, it gave me an intellectual identity. It taught me that I could also be intellectually inclined. And, the place where I was from wasn't where I belonged. And I believed that at a really young age. And that reframed, my perception about people, places, my community, and everything. And, I went on to school on partial scholarship because I was on the college chess team. And, I went pro, I played professionally, I got my first rating, I got my title. And chess is an interesting game, very complex. But then it doesn't put food on the table because it's very undervalued here. So I couldn't pursue a career in it, even though I wanted to become a grandmaster. But that would involve traveling, and competing. But I couldn't do that, so I just gave up on that dream. I decided to start teaching chess schools. I was still in Ikorodu at the time, and this was in 2015 after school. So, it was a tough decision because I was the first child of my parents, and there was this expectation that Tunde will become a doctor, be the one that will save us from poverty, put a lot of pressure on me. But then I didn't become a doctor anyway. I studied computer science. And now I wanted to do chess. And my parents were worried because chess, what do you mean chess? But I did it anyway because I had an idea. I had an idea that I thought could shape the future. And remember, chess gave me an identity. And then I had an idea that because chess gave me an identity, I could use it as a tool to help give other children the same identity that it gave me. So I developed a curriculum, a program. I did extensive research. I got to learn that chess is actually being taught as a curriculum subject in Armenia, in some parts of New York, and Russia, and all those places. And it was an incredible educational resource. And I wanted to teach children that too. So I started pitching to all the private schools in Ikorodu. I even went to the island for the first time, 2014. I was very excited about it. But then the schools, they didn't understand, that idea. And they were like, no, don't worry, we'll just have it as extracurricular. And I just accepted because I was passionate. And between that time till 2018, I taught more than 3,000 children chess. And I saw them make incredible strides. I worked with most private schools on the island. I used to wake up very early, around 5 from Ikorodu, go to Lekki, go to Songota, everywhere. I was the chess coach. But in 2018, I gave up because I wasn't earning a lot from this. And then my cheeks were so dry, it was very stressful. So I gave up and I wanted to jackbar. So me and my friend, we had this plan. We're going to travel. Now, the thing is, if you're a professional chess player, you get a FIDE ID. And when you have your FIDE ID, you can travel to most countries without the hassle of visa and all of that. So I had that. So we wanted to go for a tournament, and we just escaped from there. But something else happened. My friend's in Washington. He's in the US now. I found something. So on one of those days, while we were doing the processing, the paperwork and all of that, after church service, me and my guys, we used to play in a band. They used to go to one lungu somewhere to smoke. And I didn't smoke, but that day I said I was going to go with them. And I went with them, and when we got there, they were smoking, everyone was just there. It was not too far from where I grew up. It was in Ikorodu too, but in Majidon. Then in that moment, I just had that moment of epiphany where I saw children smoking. And they were just there. And it just occurred to me that in this place, there's no sense of a higher purpose. And the children, their understanding of success would only be confined to maybe a successful Yahoo boy in their community that bought a Benz and all of these things. And I knew that the world was much bigger than that. I was a child like this, but chess gave me, the required level of exposure to know that there's an entire universe out there, outside Ikorodu, that had all these opportunities. But then it occurred to me that these children will never get to know what they can truly become. And in that moment of epiphany, I said, you know what? Now that I'm even jobless, let me just come and start teaching these children, the ones that don't go to school. Maybe chess will become their first language. And this was in 2018, and clearly, it was the most important decision I ever made. And so I just kept going there. I had a couple of chess boards from my time working in schools. And, I remember the first day, and I set up the chessboard. And it just occurred to me that the children couldn't speak English because most of them had never been to school before. So how do you explain to a child who has never been to school before that a rook moves vertically and horizontally? So I was confused. But I just had to use street language, gesticulations, and they got it. And on that day, remember that I had taught more than 3,000 children how to play chess. I'd never seen children learn at such pace before. And it occurred to me that we had neglected something important to our society. And the single story for the longest time, I thrived because we didn't pay attention to this part of possibility. And the children had incredible potential. But then when we talk about potential, Africa has potential and yada yada, old story. But then listen, potential is nothing if it's not realized. And I discovered on that day that the children had incredible potential that the world didn't know about because we had marginalized them as children just living in slums and have nothing to contribute to society. And for us that don't even intentionally marginalize them, we are far too disconnected from their realities to build solutions for them or stage an intervention that is meaningful to their future. And I thought through chess, not only could I give them an identity, I could give them a way to find expression. And this is the story of everyone here. we found expression in doing one thing or the other. Selim has found his way to express himself through his black and white videos. Everyone here has found expression in doing the things that they love. But there are children in places that will never get to know what they can truly become, that will never get to realize the truest form of expression with an educated mind. And I thought I could do that with chess by giving them a more positive way to channel their thoughts, to learn how to think for themselves. And I was convinced that this was an idea that could change something. Chess wasn't going to put food on their table because even me, I was broke. But I knew it was going to give them an important identity and a way to find expression. And that was how the Chess and Storms journey began. And I resigned from church. I said, you know what, my Saturdays and Sundays, I want to dedicate it to this place. And I just kept going back. And the children started getting really good. And they got really good. And they started winning national tournaments. And they got really good. And, you know, we just kept pushing against the grain. It was hard because I was broke. I was living with my aunts, you know. But we just kept pushing against the grain. They got really good. And something happened, I mean, around this time last year, you know, we started a new project. From Majidun, we went to Makoko, we went to Burkina Faso, we went everywhere. Then we just kept doing what we knew how to do best, using chess as a framework to give mentorship and education to these children. And chess became not just the end in itself, it became a means to several ends. They got scholarships, you know, they got to access the use of the internet and technology for the first time. A lot of these opportunities they started, you know, coming to them. Not because they were poor children living in the slums, but because they showed great capacity for something. And the premise was different. It wasn't children living in poverty. It was now children who had the ability to do something. And I believe everyone should be judged not because of the background or what they look like, but because of what you have the ability to do. And when you're good at what you do, it becomes undeniable. And when the children were good at just chess, it became undeniable that talent is universal, but opportunity isn't. And if you give them equal access to the same opportunities, to the same privilege that we all have, you'll be astounded by the great things that it can do. And that was the story of Chess in Slums. And we did the Oshodi project, and you know that story. It became a phenomenal, world-changing project. I got mails, thousands of mails for days from people all over the world who were deeply inspired. You know, just because somebody decided to take a chance on children in these unlikely places. But I wasn't doing anything different. I was doing the same old thing that I've been doing for 3 years in the dark that nobody saw. And now, when you do good work, it's hard. Especially when you're pouring your heart and soul into something that you completely believe in. And then sometimes it hurts when you go unseen or unheard. Like you're just in your own void, just doing this thing and nobody cares. Your 2 likes, your 3 likes. But listen, I always wanted to be in an aeroplane. And I'll round off, with this story. I would always tell my mom when I was a kid that, aeroplane, whenever, flew over. Aeroplane, oh that ball. And, for some children, they could just tell their parents, and at the snap of a finger, they'll fly, they'll travel out. But that wasn't my reality. So it became a childhood dream of mine. But then in 2018, I got an opportunity to travel for the first time and be in an aeroplane. But I didn't take it. Because the date clashed with something else that I needed to do, which involved just being there with the children for them to do something. We had an event where the children were going to teach career professionals how to play chess. And I wanted to be there for them. I didn't want to go to one technocrat event and just sit down and start speaking English. I wanted to be on ground, to listen to the children, teach career professionals how to play chess, add value to those people that were invited to come learn from them in their community. And that was how I missed my chance to travel in an aeroplane for the first time. And but guess what? They missed the flight to their dreams on that day? All the children that were there. And that became the point where the BBC saw the Chess and Songs project and made a documentary about it. Now, a lot of what I did between 2018 till December last year when the project blew up was just me in my own little space with an idea that I thought could shape the future. And I know for most of us, we're at this stage where you have this idea, you're doing this thing that you think will shape the future, and nobody sees it. I think the important lesson of all of this thrives in understanding that as humans, we tend to seek validation in the wrong things. You see people that have given years to their craft, see them being celebrated, and you wish that was you. But then, nobody really cares about what you're doing right now. But I'll tell you something. Just keep doing. Keep doing every day. Keep showing up for it every day. It takes a lot of effort to do good work. And the only way to do good work is to love what you do. Have unwavering faith in what you do. And if you haven't found it yet, just keep looking. But don't settle. Keep looking, keep fighting, and live your life every day as if everything is a miracle. Because someday, just one day, the spotlight will be on you, and you get a chance to show the world what you're truly made of. And when that happened for me, I was ready. I was ready to be famous. I was ready to be in the limelight. I've always wanted to be in the background, but I was ready for it because, as Lenin said, there are, decades when nothing happens. But there are weeks when decades happen. But then I will tell you that in those, decades when nothing happens, continue to learn, unlearn, build capacity so that when your decade in a week happens, you'll be ready for it. And, my topic is creating a future that includes all of us. As we're creating, as we're expanding margins, as we're pursuing purpose, you must remember that for the longest time, our stories have been told without us. Without those children on that bridge, without all those people that, it just sounds like a random number, 100 million Nigerians in multidimensional poverty. Our history has been written without our voice. As creators, as storytellers, as change makers, it is our responsibility to ensure that the same injustice is not done to us. So that even what you're doing in your only... For me, it was a chessboard. Helping the dreams and ambitions of children take flight from a chessboard doesn't make any sense, right? So whatever you're doing that people even think don't make any sense, remember that you are contributing to building a future that includes other people. And because someone sees that you're putting in effort into what you do, it inspires them to also be brave enough to pursue their own journey. And just like I have done it with chess, you can do it too. And indeed, you can do great things from a small place. Thank you very much.
Oh, please, I want us to really celebrate. Today, we are honored that you came. I'm very excited about the impact. 3,000 kids now learning chess, and the future and the impact of that on our society. I really want to know how we can all be part of what you're doing and to see how we can scale it. And also, part of what we want to do is to support. So, Anita, you guys, when we finish Chike's session, we'll need you guys to give us your Twitter handle and everything so we can follow. So just tell us where to find chess, your Instagram handle, how we can.
So, shout out to Codematics there. Let's give a round of applause. Yeah, supported us substantially. I mean, you can donate, One thing I'm learning now is if you want to change the world, you need to figure out how to pay for it, yeah? And we have all these grand dreams. So you can donate to our cause, you can volunteer for us. And right now, we're building technology. I think a lot of people here are tech-savvy people to solve a problem. There are 20 million children out of school in Nigeria. It just sounds like some random numbers, but then these are actual children that can go to school. And we've all enjoyed the privilege of education here. So we want to create a database for them, profile these children, know their names, know their faces, onboard them on a platform, onboard sponsors, donors on a platform, and onboard the learning institution. So this is what it looks like. There are 1,000 children out of school in this community. Let us find them, profile them. There are 10 schools in this community. Let us find them, profile them, onboard them, There are people like you that want to support, but you don't know how. With 5,000 naira monthly, you can support a child's education for an entire year. So it's just an idea. But then, if you think this resonates with you, just reach out to me. I'll be happy to share more.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tunde. Okay, our last speaker, and then we'll go into the networking session, is someone I really, really admire and respect. But before I do that, I just saw my wife in the house right now. If you've married, she's been married for you for 9 years. So she's seen these events every year. So like, Freddie, are we up to it? I'm coming. So please celebrate Lilio at the back. Really, thanks for stopping by. Guys, I'm happy. All right, so the last speaker is someone I have the privilege to co-found something recently with in the blockchain space. But the other day he told me that he used to sell shirts and shoe, and until blockchain came. So I was just seeing importer, exporter on scale. But when the blockchain came, he's now a techie, you understand? So I want us to, he'll walk us through the journey of from shade to shared to blockchain. Now he's actually into the metaverse. Chike, please.
From shade to shade. Don't mind Freddy, please. Good evening, everybody. My name is Chike Okonkwo. And I work for a company, Gaming. And we are in the gaming industry, blockchain, gaming. Let me sit, please. So pardon me, I might switch into vernacular, or you can call it pidgin at some point. So I had a mix of growing up in Warri, Delta State, Warri, and also Lagos here. So my story is a very simple story. Some people might kind of story. And yet, this one is. So my story is a very simple one. I lost my dad when I was 9, and I lost my mom when I was 16, and I was shuffling Lagos, Warri. My mom worked in the bank, Union Bank, so I knew them very well. And my dad was based in Lagos, but he died earlier. So I had an uncle who today is my father. Everything I am today, that I had a second chance at life, was my uncle. And if he's watching, I saw him this afternoon. I went to the family house before I came here. I told him I was coming for this. If he's watching, just that's the man. He's the MVP in my life. Yes, not everybody has an uncle that takes you in where you don't have parents anymore. Yes, so getting into the university, I studied economics, just like you. Yes, and economics for me was, I hated actually studying foreign economics. They gave us Mackenzie, all of those people. It was terrible. Give me Nigerian economics, let me study. It was nowhere. Give me African economics, let me study. It was nowhere. So what's the problem? So I got in, did all the things we could do. Yes. I had a friend called Ikenna, still my friend. He's based in Abuja. We started a clothing line business. I was a sharp guy. I stayed at home for 3 years. I didn't want to go to it. My uncle said, you must go to private university. I said, nah. I love politics. I wanted to do politics, and I felt like that was my idea why I decided not to go to a private school. Let me tell you. I said if I go to, I want to be SUG president, all of those things. So, but when I got in, I didn't do SUG. I started politics from within the department. But I was doing business, and I was doing clothing line. I'll go to a bar, I'll go to Onitsha, look at the quality of shirts they have and all of that. Then I said, no, in Lagos, we get some kind sharp designs. So what they do? We did designs, Corel Draw. My friend Ikena was the designer. Me, I was everybody's friend. I love to meet people. I love to make friends. So I was selling the shirt. I was marketing it. Every event that we had in school, I was always there. as the everything boy, you know. So, but fast forward, going down into school, it was becoming very difficult. I was doing school, I was doing business, I was also doing politics. So it became very tedious. My education at a point was suffering, but no carryovers. Yes, I was still doing it. So I was a senator, comrade this, comrade that. It was flying up and down. So economics actually opened my eyes to the fact that an economy of a country encompasses a whole lot of things. And it has to do with, for a country, your economy is your strength. Without a successful or a strong economy, you are nothing. The world will respect you. Nobody will respect you. I guess we get the point why Nigeria is like this today, but no problem. So I loved tech as a young child in secondary school. I didn't know how to use a computer. Then I had a cousin, very senior cousin of mine. He runs one of the top internet companies in Akwa Ibom today. So he taught me how to operate a laptop when I finished secondary school. So going to the university, I went to do web design. As a matter of fact, he created one blank website for me. Said all the things he has been teaching me, I should go and edit and create websites. I'm going to enter school, we leave that one first. We dey find the one who will give us money, which was selling shirts, shoes, and any other thing that we could do. As the Igbo boy that I am, I have to survive. So, well, yeah, my uncle was training me, but I didn't like to disturb him for money. He has 5 children. He's a people person. He takes care of a lot of people in the family. So I just wanted to do something for myself. And when I started at the point, the business wasn't going. There were competitions. The boys that would go to Aba and get it cheap. The ones that would go to Onichanga and get it cheap. So we're doing quality. So I was putting money in. People were not really interested in my quality. So final year came knocking, and I told my guy, it's time for us to start thinking of exit strategy. We cannot go outside. Me and you no go look for a job, you know now. With the popularity we had in school, all those pride, you're like, guy, you cannot come out and not be. By the end of the day, we're like, if politics no even, this one no good, politics do favor us. So, but at the time, I had a boss who worked with the governor, and I used to go to the governor's lodge. Yeah, he's running for president. Yeah, Peter. Yeah, his PA was my boss, and I just go to the governor's lodge, do some work. So I used to get paid every month. So that when I graduated, I had an extra year. Yeah. One of the most dreaded lecturers decided I was the one he was going to use as a scapegoat. But yes, I like to say I failed, no problem. But that was the year where, in my final year, I started getting a lot into network marketing, all of those kind of things. I was doing them while the clothing line was sliding into. So all the money I had saved while I was doing working and also doing my shirt business, power bank chargers became a thing. Many people didn't really know about it then, but me and my guy, the sharp guy, telling a guy, we got to import this thing, you know. And I tried. The money went. Yes. You know when they tell you, if someone say, container in a high sea, it has dumped. Yes. Our one was not container. The people we ordered it from were fraud. Fearsome Asians. They will chop your money, Sarah, and go. So that was like almost part of the savings I had. He left. And I told my friend, guy, we can't do this again. No. If we try again, maybe we can stumble. So we had fear and anxiety to do more. But I was beginning to say, Chike, you know, social media, tech, you used to love this thing. Start thinking of it. So I thought of 3 things. I thought of recycling, agriculture, and tech as the things that are my lifeline out. Then I said, politics after school was the end. I didn't want to be an essay to anybody that will put me under him. I will start chopping Nigerian money. I wasn't interested in that because I saw it happen, yes. I saw it happen. I have friends who are essays, even in post senators, till now. Some of them are doing well, chopping Nigeria's money. Let's say the truth. So, but at the end of the day, I now came back, did the extra year, started doing network marketing, stumbled on a couple of others, and I found one that told me, the name was MMM, from MMM to Zafond. Zafond was Bitcoin. Yes, Zafond was Bitcoin. And I'm like, what's this Bitcoin? I've heard about it in 2012. One of my Yahoo Messenger escapades. Somebody was telling me, guy, I said, this thing no go work for Nigeria. Forget it. I thought it was just one digital thing. So, but as the story went, I got into crypto. But let me tell you one of the things. Economics made me love Bitcoin. Without economics, I wouldn't have understood anything that was on that white paper. I read the white paper first, and I saw a new kind of money. Something that was opening up a new economy. It was opening up a new world of creativity. If you read it as just text and codes, you will not understand it. But if you read it with an open mind, and I decided to tell myself, Chike, this is just what you're going to embrace. So the last set of savings I had, and then if you do crypto now, you hear USDT, stable coins, and all of that. Back in 2016, there was no stable coin. You are either buying Bitcoin, and your money can be dumping, and there's no way to get out to a stable coin. So you either wait it out for it to finish going down before it comes up again. So, my brother, I sank in my last 300,000 naira savings as a student, and the money blew. That was the end. So, but I went back to start learning coding, every kind of thing that I could learn on the internet. Then I started offering a service of social media marketing. While I went back, I was doing my extra. The lecturer said, everybody who has an extra year must come for the lectures. And you know, Chiki, senator here, come read this, come read that. You come, you and your juniors, they do lectures. But anyway, we did it. And it was in that phase I started to experience a lot of things. And that was where I got the awakening, and I said, okay, Chiki, take this tech thing seriously. I stopped everything network marketing. I threw it away, and I went straight in. I was doing crypto, trying to learn. There's something called airdrops back in the days, free money. I tried to do some airdrops. I wasn't doing it right, but I had friends who were doing it right. And they were making money. Me, I wasn't making money. So I felt, so at this point, I had lost the money, and I knew trading is not for me. But when you go on any website, they tell you Bitcoin scam, crypto scam, anything scam. JP Morgan was insulting us. There was a lot. A boy from Nigeria is in scam. I've been scammed before. And I entered this one, I will still be scammed. But I know. I said no. Then I tried to do Forex while I was doing social media marketing and all that. Then I tried to set up a company. When I came back for one of my, I came back to Lagos, did something, I went back to Anambra again. And yes, I went to Unizik, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, that's where I went, that's where I studied. And then I said, I must stay in the East. There's nothing, I'm not leaving this place. We'll go grow East, the tech thing, we'll do it, Yes, it was all good, and I like it. I still go back to the East to touch with them. Then that was where I realized that tech is a whole lot. You need to learn. I tried my hands with some co-founders then, and we tried to do something like boat for Enugu and Anambra. We called it GoCom Taxi. It failed. End of story. And NYSC came. I stayed one extra year. I didn't want to do NYSC. I was fed up with that thing. I was like, extra year, can't go do this, you waste my time. But my uncle said, if you don't do this thing, you will leave my house. I don't get money. I don't get another place where I go stay. I said, okay, bros, no vessel. I will do it. And that was how I came back. I was trying to learn programming while I was doing social media to make some small stipends. Then NYSC came. I went in for NYSC. In my NYSC period, I stumbled on a mentor who started telling me what crypto was. It was not just about crypto, blockchain. While I was waiting for NYSC, I was watching videos. YouTube is a university that I can never graduate from. I don't know about any other person. So a lot was there. So I had to sieve out the ones that were calling it scam. And I realized that it was an industry that could create that. Sorry, it's an industry where you give value and you get value. Forget all the coins people are telling you about. If you are trying to come in there, just don't focus on trying to trade. If you come in, you know you have a very good paying job or anything, and you say, okay, it's trading, that's your problem. You have somewhere else, okay, no problem. You can try trading. But please, don't do futures. I'm begging you. End of story. So, and I came in and I volunteered for many of the top crypto you might have heard about. I volunteered. I did ambassadorship. They were paying me $50, $20. And we became, any money. And my dream of, I would like to earn in dollar was coming. But that was not it. Then, my NYC period, I started making some good money. And I lost everything. In crypto, you must take security very seriously. One of the airdrop times, I fell into something called a phishing site. I just plugged in my wallet and I didn't know it was a clone of the wallet I used to use. I put in my private key. So yeah, when people tell you it can be hacked, for now, the blockchain cannot be hacked. Nobody has been able to do that. But I fell for a phishing site. So I just put in my private key. I saw all I had made from airdrops, everything wiped away. And that was the funds I felt, okay, when I finish NYSC, I'll use that one to start my life. And I came back again, square one. After NYSC, I went back home. And that was where God started to really work on me. And I found God closely. And I realized that my life was a journey where from when I was young, lost my parents, God found me. And that was where I knew that, Chiki, you needed to hold him closer. And I started doing that. But I was working for a friend, his name is Franklin Peters. We ran BitFX Exchange. And I worked, this was somebody who were in university together. We did network marketing together and all that. But I said, no, Chiki, since you want to understand the blockchain business, and Frank was good, he understood it. So I worked closely with him. I was the CEO of BitFXT. We did a lot for 2 years. And COVID came. I was beginning to build knowledge, network. That was when, even before BitFXT, I said I was going to be a business developer. The idea of business, I love business. So I just said, okay, Chiki, you can't code. You get tired at it. I was bored. Each time I tried to code, I was bored. So I said, no, I'm not doing this. And to now say you now want to transition into a blockchain developer was another journey again. So I said, no. I took the business side of things. Today, I'm a business developer. Gamic, I'm co-founding Gamic, but I'm the lead business developer. Thanks to Fedi. Yes. Fedi betted the parent company, Artistry. And yeah, I think we did a launch also in this place. And Fedi actually created our opportunity. COVID came, and I think it was God. He said, quit. I was volunteering for about 4 crypto companies. They were paying me peanuts. But I was trying my best. I was doing I'll buy some other coins. I'll make money. I'll sell. That's how I was actually sustaining. And I quit everything. COVID, 3 months, I was at home. I was just doing my small, buy coin here, do this here. That's how I was surviving. 4 crypto companies wanted me after that. 4. All of them from LinkedIn. Top companies. Then I went to one of the biggest crypto exchange. They are larger than Binance, just that you don't know them. They are Asians. OKX. The founder of Binance used to work for OKX. Yes. So, and I was the lead business development officer for them. It was an amazing journey. I left them after a year plus. I joined some other companies, and I wanted to work for almighty Binance. And my friend, who was the director at Binance at the time, okay, he wanted me to come in, but it didn't work. One day, Fedi called me to his office. We're just talking about NFTs, and I said, Fedi, this guy is a magic carpet. they are creative. NFTs has come. This studio can have their own. And lo and behold, the two ladies who are here, who were here earlier, they are big on NFTs. They didn't tell you guys that part. They are making good money from NFTs. Yes. And I'm glad that I was part of that journey. So, what I want you guys to know today is, Ferdy told me something. He said, Chike, it's time to own. And I went back home and I thought about owning. The blockchain gave me the opportunity to be able to make money and do good things. But now it has also given me the opportunity to create something people will earn out of. What Gamic is doing today, we help people, teach them how to play crypto games. They earn a living. One of the parents of some of our best gamers said she never knew her child would leave this country because of gaming. We took our gamers to Dubai early this year. And some of them are sorting some little bills at home. We're pushing esports. And I love what Slump School is doing. I will make sure we get in touch and see whether there are even many of those kids there who love to play other games aside, and bring them in. So what I'm saying today is, aside even blockchain, tech is an enabler. If you know that you have an idea, Fedi said something, fintech has done its part. There will still be a lot of problems in fintech. But if I'm not doing crypto tomorrow, I'm not in the blockchain space, I'm heading straight for agri-tech. Agriculture is another space I love so much. And I must do tech there, one way or the other. So if you know that you are actually building something, stay there. The watchword I tell people every time is consistency. If you stay consistent, there's a process. Somebody mentioned process. There is always a process. And where energy taking it in and everything. But at the end of the day, know that you're look for co-founders. Investors will come, let it not be your worry. Let the idea rise. Africa needs builders. They are not people.
This is our last speaker, and we want to see 30 minutes to do a lot of networking. So I met somebody out in the chairs on the Web3 space where more kids can access it. Maybe that's the way to go, but it's a potential income that we need to unlock. What we gather here to do is pretty much about creating opportunities to co-create. Let's not. They call us the bet zone of the world. Like, for people can jackpa, we no go empty. World. Like, for people can jackpa, we no go empty. You understand? We can fill up there'll be space for more. How many dedicate? Even the diaspora, they are going there back, right, to grow your economy. Let's face it, even though it cannot sell ourselves, it's called neo-colonialism. I don't want to get political. All these Africans that want to sorry, okay, get political, but the point again is that the idea that if country. So when you say Nigeria is the second largest crypto market because we're trading, how many crypto platforms are owned by us? If Binance carry bag now, where wanna go there? If Binance just check out, everybody, if Instagram just decide, guys, I'm tired of Nigeria, we're blocking you because the government is giving us stress. You just wake up, your account is gone. So build across platforms and then just think about consuming tech, create tech. That is where the business cap. We keep doing that every day as a studio. But guys, if you want to go far, go with someone. I will tell you over and over again, the age of one man standing is gone. I've been watching this animal documentary. The ones that get hit real quick are the ones that the lone wolves, just moving around. But do you know, if the hyenas are together, the lion can break in. Like, even if you find any of the animals, once they can bond together, even the wild ones are scared of them. There's strength and beauty in unity. Find that partner, build that stuff, right? This is the creative age, and Africa has the answer. We have a couple of gifts for our speakers. So I'll quickly just call us to present that, and then we go into the interactive session and the Q&A. Please get me the gifts. Please clap again. I want to quickly tell me, Stecky. Please tell me, Stecky. Your questions have not been answered. You came all the way from Ibadan, and I'm glad that you did. And thank God you're staying till Wednesday. But your story for me is quite inspiring as well. Mr. Stecky, I really want you to mentor more ladies, right? Because there's this idea that tech is a man's world. And it's not true. You've cracked it. just collecting 500 for school, just fixing stuff. I like that. So like, and that's what it is. Quite frankly, I didn't know that your career existed. Yet I know the career. I just didn't know that it's serious like that. Yes, sir. Like it's just like this thing mood board. Like there's a way we do it, reference and all of. I was like, this thing is. I was telling checks that it's like I'll talk to Anita. Let's collaborate. At the end of the day, I was watching that video, the music video, the one with Patoranking and Nancy, and I was like, this. I was actually watching it this afternoon. Interesting. I had no clue that you were behind it. It was a beautiful work of art. Thank you very much, Ifoma, the co-founder. Indeed, you're really breaking ceiling and doing more. We are rooting for you. We want to see you break the ceiling, go far. Salem of the Most High. Salem is really, really interesting. I remember about 3-4 years ago when I met him in Abuja, I was like, Salem, what are you doing? I'm into content. Interesting. So I followed your page and, I was like, Salem, this thing. So I was like, it's okay. And now you're here, right? Selling them. And you're just creating more courses. Every time I check, course. You understand? Like what the Salem will say, Salem will just tell the course, how to be you. You need it. Unity. This is now community unity. The U brand, right? Okay, let's not look for trouble. All right, Chico Konkwa, thank you so much for sharing your heart and your journey and the evolution. If you've never lost money, that's how I went to invest in one clone platform. The thing was giving me interest. I saw the profit and I was like, it's going to be a great December. And then I attempted to withdraw the money, brother. I've never seen anything as hard as that. I attempted, I sent email. By the time I realized, it's like this thing. The profit was growing. I was like, can tongues break into this thing? You understand? Can you use prayer? And I said, I was seeing the thing. I sent email, I threatened. In the email, you see God of Elijah, God of this thing. Like, be careful who you're joking with. You understand? Brother, if you have not walked that journey, you understand? You just wake up, you'll be saying, where is the domain now? I thought, where is the site now? It's gone. All those people, I know you guys didn't do MMM. I know some people are here. Some people, they fall in 4 times. Me, only 1. So I have to be thankful because at the end of the day, if you've done it 3 times, greed. If it's once, you are just an investor. It was just a bad investment. You understand? You understand? And I used to make maths say, people don't sell to me. I just choose to buy. After that thing, I just humble. You understand? And even I nearly say, but why didn't you do invest? I was seeing the money. It was 10x daily. That kind of this thing where like, is this the net breaking miracle? Is this the wealth transfer? And you find references in the Bible that can help you say, this is the breakthrough we've always wanted. Only for when it goes wrong, you're like, well, you know how we go. Keep moving. Please celebrate Checks as well. Checks is, quite frankly, Cheku is one of the people I say, Cheku will make heaven. I don't know, but, like the way he is about his art and about people. And today, I really think that I've gone into places because of animation. They just call, like, you guys are doing magic in Africa. I say, wait until you see more. I'm not that humble when I want to be. You understand? But, but it takes a lot of grinding. Now, we've been putting 5 years, and it's not the easiest part of the work. In fact, it's just getting to the easier parts. The first 5 years wasn't easy. Some days you did grind, animation hard. You draw. And then at the end of the day, we're sitting in a place where the foreign companies like to buy them from Nigerians than to co-create with Nigerians. You understand? And then we had this deal with some South Africans. Their government said we're in a co-production. So that means South Africans, their government to give them 1 million, Nigerian government to bring 1 million. Brother, we still wait. So the South Africans got their own. Now, when you go to CBN will say, so what I'm telling you right now is that you need to have a collateral of $1 million. You say, okay, well, if I check very well, I don't think the family can sum that up yet. They'll tell you that, okay, well, I said, but you can use our IP, like in the UK. Oh, IPs are used as collateral. They said, oh, sorry, this is not UK. That's what we're saying. We need to see it physical. We don't invest in hard drive. So this whole film now, just one hard drive. If they take it, then steal them for 10 million. So somebody carry the bag and the hard drive. So Nigerians want, please lock the door. This is the land. It was used. My money is here. Lock the door. That's the way the Nigerian investors like to do it. So thank you very much, Checks, for believing. Have I missed out anyone here? Thank you so much. I really want to have that conversation. Architecture, you made me feel normal. You understand? And living out all your passion. If you wake up to this documentary, some people say, how many things you want to do now? Why are we not doing those things? If you have it, do it. Like you said, monetize one, enjoy the rest. Let's not commercialize all our lives. Keep some part for fun. Everything is not money. They tap you money, ask you half our money. You understand? At the end of the day, at the end of the day, somebody can just say, good morning, 50K. No. It was just a greeting, please. But I love that one. I can live with it. But thank you, everyone. So let's have the gifts. First is who on that? Okay, checks, please. Please, ladies and gentlemen, clap with me as... Okay, you'll be calling. Okay. So, it's an award for recognition of your contribution to the growth of the creative economy. From as many young people that can look at you and aspire to even be. So we are celebrating that contribution. Pray that you go even to greater heights. Only wife remain. Next.
The next is Oladimeji Ajegbe.
Oladimeji, thank you so much for breaking the mold, and even with the difficulties of you having stage fright, perfecting your art, and always putting quality content out there, watching yourself make the mistakes, learn and grow, for humanizing what it means to be a content creator, we celebrate you. And thanks for making everyone feel like growth is the goal, and there is no destination, there's just the journey. Enjoy it. Thank you very much. Where is Gideon? Gideon. Okay, sorry. You know, in my world, you're meant to be close.
Okay, sorry. Next is Anita Ashur.
Anita. My new partner. Anita, for just bringing excellence into movies, into music videos, I think the game has changed, and you're one of the few people redefining that. And I must say, today we celebrate the export of Afrobeat to every part of the world. It is not without the contribution of people like Anita behind the scene. It wasn't only the artists. People were also enjoying the videos. And because the videos, behind those videos, were creative minds, and this is one of them. Thanks for breaking the ceiling, for being you, for returning home when everybody's going the other way, and for staying back to say, let's make this work. You are a gem.
Next is Salem King.
Oh, Salem. So, Salem, for redefining what it means to be a content creator, you were not afraid to be vulnerable, to be real. And you didn't make it about you. You made it about the people. You made yourself a platform where people could connect. You didn't just give us a brand, you gave us a tribe. Today we celebrate you.
Next is Toby Ayani, aka Miss Techie.
So, Ms. Taki, thanks for being the first, one of the few pioneers who are bringing women into that place of visibility, and for not being afraid to show up, to take your space. And even when you think the challenges are huge, you step in and you redefine that. I am celebrating you today with every one of us here, and we're looking forward to seeing you even in the movies.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Next is Ifeoma Wobu.
All right. Hold it. The modeling was just the beginning. Now there's a tech chapter, but it's not going to stop there, for there is still more from where that came. If you were celebrating you for always not being afraid to be yourself, for putting yourself out there, for taking the risk, and for allowing yourself to fail into the process and succeed, you are one of us. You are one of the inspiring people we celebrate today. And thanks for being you. And thanks for being an African and a Nigerian. I also want to just celebrate your founder, your co-founder as well. Thanks. It's not here. Easy. Okay. Thanks for giving her the opportunity, for seeing that growth in her. Because sometimes the true heroes are people who can see us before we see ourselves. All right. Oh, yeah. Tunde, this is for you. Please, hold it. Sorry. Tunde, let me tell you my heart. I feel like Lagos is safer because you're here. The seed you've sown, we may not appreciate it until months, years from now. That a kid who could have gone for guns have gone for chairs is a true testament of the gift of you. And we thank you for even sacrificing your own dream so that their dreams could live. And we pray that as you have become the beacon of light and hope, that everything you ever desire will not pass you by. Because you've given of yourself, so will you also receive. And we pray that better days have come. And I want to watch the movie of you. I want to read the biography of the Chess Way Out. I want to see the greatness that you are. And you were so inspiring this evening. I know you were quite quiet and articulate, and you don't even speak like someone that grew up where you grew up. So guys, I don't know whether that was a chess English. The last time I checked, it was only a thinking thing, but you spoke just as eloquently, and that speaks to the fact that you've overcome your limitation, your difficulties, and there will be no limits going forward. Okay.
Chike Okonkwo.
Chike, you've redefined, I mean, when they think the chance is the end of the game is the beginning, I've seen you evolve over and over again, and even not just from building community, but also creating a platform where people can also benefit. Chike, for me, is one of the people that embodies selflessness, and I celebrate him every day for the gift of him. Chike is a team player, right? He can come into and then free consulting every day. Chike, I want to do blockchain, come. And the ideas, Chike will never say, what's in it for me? And because he has not asked that, I see you going even further. And we are also celebrating you for being one of those who are pioneering the Web3 space and bringing Nigerians into the place of owning platforms, right? Not just consuming what has been created, but ensuring that we participate even in the creators' economy and the Web3 space. You are one of our heroes tonight, and we celebrate you for all that you are. Guys, this is just about it. We open the floor now for, I don't know if you guys have any questions, but ideally, what is for us is just networking and meeting yourselves. Get to know 3 or 4 people. So we've not asked Ms. Techie, and did we take questions? So we did. But if you have any questions, you have unlimited access to them. So guys, in the next 20 minutes, I think the floor is open. Once on behalf of the IDA team, I want to celebrate every one of you out there for making this happen, for sleepless nights, for running back and forth to ensure that this is so. Please, if you haven't dropped your emails, do. The next event we're having is the rendezvous, and then we want to have this skill exchange where you can actually spend some time to pick a skill and give a skill. That's going to be a closed-door meeting in an undisclosed location.